Yes, again. Yes, indeed. Yes, yes, y'all. Drop a one for me if you're out there and you can hear my voice. Drop a one so I know that you can hear me. I would appreciate that. Um, if you want to join the panel tonight, just click the link pinned to the top of the chat, and you too can join the panel and have your voices heard. You could also, in the description of the episode, you could also go and join our Discord. We have a Discord. It's not lively, to be honest, but on the Discord, you can go and drop your Shoot the Breeze topics that you'd like to hear us discuss here on a Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So join the Discord as well. Hit the like button before you do anything else. Hit the like button right now. Share the episode with your peoples on social media or via email or what have you. Let people know what you're doing on a Saturday night, which is engaging in conscious conversations that are intended to ultimately uplift the community. You know what it is. I like to come on here to start the show to give you a preview of the topics that we're going to discuss tonight. So tonight's show, we're going to discuss Charleston White's message to Black Americans. We're going to talk about the fact that we blame the white man for 95% of our problems. We're going to discuss the fatherless and how they confuse the nation they are supposed to protect and provide for. We're going to try to answer the question, was it the feds or real MCs that brought us gangster rap? Last but not least, we're going to discuss the fact that AI now is able to speak Jamaican patois as well as other Caribbean patois. Very interesting stuff. In the chat, I see Anthony is out there saying peace to the panel in chat. Right now, it's just me. Hopefully, Anthony, you'll join us tonight. Again, drop a one of you guys can hear my voice. That'll be helpful. Drop a one. Also, I just want to say this too. When you guys are putting up topics for Shoot the Breeze, which I appreciate, because the diversity of interests leads to a diversity of topics, which leads to a great conversation every Saturday night. But please be succinct and direct with your topics, with the prompt. This first topic we're going to discuss tonight is Charleston White's message to Black Americans. See how plain and simple that is? When that was posted on the Discord, there was a whole bunch of stuff added to it, and I had to kind of try to parse what it meant. Just make it plain and simple, right? It makes it easier. Also, while you add it to, I have a pin to the top of the chat. Subscribe to the Shoot the Breeze Clips channel. That's a channel where I clip up all these different topics per week, and I post them there as shorter, more digestible topics, which is also why it's helpful to have succinct titles for your prompts. So make sure you join that as well. Real Black Gentleman is in the chat. He gave me a one. He says, greetings, Coco and Fam. So greetings to you as well, RBG. Anthony McPhail says he'll join in a few. So what we'll do now is officially start the show. But on the other side, I'll draw Shoot the Breeze topic number one, as well as introduce any and all panelists. So please stay tuned.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about Black empowerment. Our show focuses on Black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now, your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Koku. Just want to remind you guys before we get the show rolling that this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio. There are other shows on the network you are invited to tune into.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the pro-black perspective, where black problems are addressed with black solutions.
Greetings, fam. Tune in to The Learning Curve with me, the revolutionary matron on KWAZ Radio.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Yes, indeed. Welcome back to another edition of the Saturday Night Shoot the Breeze. This is episode 166. Imagine that, episode 166. I want to thank everyone who's always contributing to this Saturday night discussion. Again, make sure like the video, make sure share it on your social media, send it out to your friends, invite them to come and join the conversation as well. Without further ado, let me introduce my first and only panelist tonight. That'll be Bwana. Bwana, how are you this week?
I'm good, Koku. How are you, brother?
I'm good. I'm hanging in there. Thanks for coming through.
Good. I invited a few people on to show tonight. Hopefully, at least one of them will show up. But if they don't, we'll just do it. You know how we do it.
Yeah, so I appreciate the efforts you made too, Bwana, and trying to get the show, out there to more people. Many of the people who are in the chat are actually here through Bwana, to be honest. So I do appreciate your efforts there. And you guys who are listening, man, that's why I say, invite one or two people who you feel pretty good about, who will come and actually join the show, join the discussion. Just invite your folks, man. Let's try to build an audience. Good discussions happen here every Saturday night. All right, without further ado, it's just Bwana and I for now. Let me draw up Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 tonight. Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 says, Charleston White's message to Black Americans. This came with a link that will take us to Twitter. Let me make sure you guys can see this. Okay, good. Fix it. Great. So this is a transcript, basically. This is from Wall Street Apes, which is an interesting name. This is a transcript of what Charleston White's going to say in the video. I'll just get right to it and play the video. It's a little over a minute. Maybe we'll watch it twice as we wait.
As much as we don't want to believe this, the white man is our only ally in this world. The white American man is our only ally in this world because he will unite with us under our constitutional rights to help save his country. He's our real brother. The white man taught us how to read, homie. The Mexicans didn't. The white man died with us, homie, to help us get out of slavery. The Chinese didn't. The white man fought alongside the white Jewish man with Dr. King to help us get civil rights. The Mexican didn't. The Latin didn't. The Chinese didn't. The Cuban didn't. So he's really our only friend in the world. Because as much as y'all want to believe, if y'all leave this country, nigga, they gonna kick you worse in your ass. You go somewhere. Go to Africa and watch how the Africans treat y'all. Nigga, go somewhere. Nigga, man, don't nobody like us but the white boy and his white woman. They our only real friend, my nigga. I swear to God. Homie, they our only real friend. That's why, homie, don't nobody else really fuck with us. Look like everybody else use us for economical benefits.
I'm gonna play that again. I just want to take a beat to say good night to Janelle, to Joe, who says good night, everyone. But this is Charleston White's message to Black Americans. You guys, please post your thoughts as I play it again. Post your thoughts as I play it again. I want to play it again because I really want y'all to pick up on what this guy's putting down. And I have an observation that I'll give afterwards. So I'm going to play it one more time.
As much as we don't want to believe this, the white man is our only ally in this world. The white American man is our only ally in this world because he will unite with us under our constitutional rights to help save his country. He's our real brother. The white man taught us how to read, homie. The Mexicans didn't. The white man died with us, homie, to help us get out of slavery. The Chinese didn't. The white man fought alongside the white Jewish man with Dr. King to help us get civil rights. The Mexican didn't, the Latin didn't, the Chinese didn't, the Cuban didn't. So he's really our only friend in the world. Because as much as y'all want to believe, if y'all leave this country, nigga, they gonna kick you worse than your ass. You go somewhere. Go to Africa, watch how the Africans treat y'all. Nigga, go somewhere. Nigga, man, don't nobody like us but the white boy and his white woman. They our only real friend, my nigga. I swear to God. I swear to God, homie, they our only real friend. That's why, homie, don't nobody else really fuck with us but white people. Everybody else use us for economical benefits.
Yeah, what a doozy. You know, it's things like this why I am I'm becoming more and more of a person who doesn't really endorse folks anymore. Because as soon as you hear someone say something good, because the problem is we live in a soundbite world. So today you may hear a guy say something that you say, yeah, man, right on, Black nationalist, Pan-African, or Black upliftment, whatever. And then tomorrow you'll hear a soundbite that's just like, oh my God. You know what I mean? And it's coming to a point now where you really can't endorse folks, especially public speakers. Another problem I've been noticing over the years too, which is kind of related, is even the folks that we held up high from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even further than that. There's always someone who will bring up some reason why they don't like them. To kind of, if you're not a strong-minded person, to kind of shake your belief or your like for certain peoples in the past. I'll just mention one name, and that's Dr. Amos Wilson. People will if you let people tell it, he's the worst voice that we've ever had. And so that's becoming tiring as well. But there's one thing, just to get back to the video itself. One thing I noticed Charleston White says here, Anthony, if you can hear my voice, it's saying that you need to connect your mic or cam before you can be brought up. So step down and try to come back up again, all right? But one thing he noticed here, he said to Black Americans, he said, go to Africa and see how they treat you. My question is, has Charleston White gone to Africa? And has he been kicked in his ass in Africa? Why are folks who have never been, because I have doubts that he's been. Because most times when you hear a Black American talk about going to Africa, they come back and tell you how it changed their life. I was recently watching the martial artist, Michael Jai White, do an interview. And he was talking about he went to Africa and it changed his life. It changed his life. He saw where he was an African too. So what is Charleston White talking about, and why is it allowed for someone who hasn't been to say something like that, and it's okay? We've got Anthony, it's still saying you have to connect your mic or cam, so try again for me, please. Why is this? Why is this allowed? Right? I don't get it. Anyway, I've ran on a bunch, but Trigger Happy 262 in the chat, he says the true essence and logical conclusion of a Black American identity, if we're being blunt, he says when one says they are American, they are conceding that their countrymen is the white majority of the country. Even the etymology of America is an Italian man. Well said. With that said, let me welcome in the latest addition to the panel, Real Black Gentleman. Real Black Gentleman, how are you this week?
I'm all right. I'm chill.
Good. Thanks for coming through. I'll start with you, Real Black Gentleman. Charleston White's message to Black America. What say you to that message?
I mean, I don't agree with it. Part of it is just kind of understanding where he's coming from and what, in essence, he's expressing. I mean, he's just saying simply that, you know, the status quo as it's almost like I almost want to call this shit hood creationism. Oh, for real. As if, you know, there's no history in the world to the best of your knowledge and all the experiences and input and stimuluses that you've had in your life is basically the tantamount to the entirety of the universe. And that anything that you know in your relative life and relative, you know, environment, you know, supersedes the collective of what it kind of is the average of people's experiences. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, he's saying, I mean, what he's saying is just a reactionary, you know, position that, you know, this is the best we have based off of nothing else. They hate us based off of nothing else. You know, very broad sweeping generalizations that, you know, have no substance, have no analysis to them. I don't, you know, he gonna say what he gonna say. I mean, it's again, you know, I gotta, you know, have a bit of a line, you know what I'm saying? I can't have America just be a place of just, you know, absentness. You know, there is something about people, you know, wanting to defend, you know, their relative nationality. You know what I'm saying? There is a degree of validity to that, but I think naturally he takes it on a extreme nativist kind of a bend where it's just like, you know, America good, everything else bad. You know what I'm saying? Us black good, them black bad. You know, them white, us white folk good, them other bad. You know what I'm saying? Really, you know, simple and, you know, no nuance, no texture. You know what I'm saying? You know, everyone gonna say what they gonna say. You know what I'm saying? In this country, you can more or less say more or less wherever you want, more or less. But, you know, the people who he's speaking to are the people who already are, I'm afraid, the people with the same kind of reactiveness and it's just, you know, people who may be uncertain about the world, again, ill-informed, not, you know, I read, you know, African newspapers for years, just trying to figure out what's going on from their, you know, from an African perspective. You know what I'm saying? When you don't even pay attention to what people are saying, what's going on the ground, you know what I'm saying? You're going to be biased. You know what I'm saying? You're going to hear the first thing that comes to your mind, and chances are that first thing is something pushed on you by an outside source. So I'm going to yield the mic.
Well said, RBG. Well said. And I'm going to contrast that with this comment here from Arthurzer. Shout out to Arthurzer. He said, if you're born in America, you're American. If you're born in Jamaica, you're Jamaican. Don't read too much into it. The problem with that oversimplistic response to what this guy's Charleston White just said is what RBG just stated. It lacks texture. It's too simplistic. It lacks nuance. Like RBG just said, everyone comes from somewhere, and you're going to be, you know, you're going to be proud of where you're from on some level. But the thing that I think most people try to get across to the Black American is what Dr. John Henry Clark said, is be proud of where you're from, but always remember you're an African still. So yeah, I'm proud to be from the Caribbean. I'm proud to be a Bahamian, sure. But I don't forget where I'm from, where my people are actually from. I don't talk shit about Africans. Should they do better on some levels? Absolutely. But I don't deny my Africanness. This is the problem with this guy, Charleston White's analysis up here on the screen currently. Shout out to Afro Native World. He says, when Africa is born in you, You're African regardless of birthplace. Absolutely. Right? Trigger Happy says to that, the correct conclusion we should build towards. Right? Trigger Happy says, I think black people in America and be proud of their history without being proud of America. This is why you can make a distinction between New African versus American. Trigger, I'm not too certain. There's something missing in something you said. Shout out to Brother Bakari out there. He said peace and Black African power. So shout out to him. Make sure you guys are tuned into Brother Bakari. I think I forgot to say this earlier. Make sure you're tuned into Brother Bakari, the Forecast Radio, Realm in the Bush, as well. Oh, and Kofi the Black Critic. How can I forget? Kofi the Black Critic as well. With that said, that was RBG. Let me welcome in our brother Black Steel this week. Black Steel, how are you this week?
I'm doing great, Kofi. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. Were you able to see this video?
I did see it earlier. So this is the one where he says white people are our only allies.
Yeah. Talk about it, Black Steel.
This dude, who keeps giving this clown a platform is what I want to know. You know, he's an obvious agent, right? He has no respect for black people. He said himself, we not Africans, we niggas, you know? So this dude is just, at this point, I feel like it's insulting to keep putting this clown up here. They just put an innocent black man to death. What do you mean white people are our only allies? They literally put an innocent black man to death, and they blocked the evidence that could have cleared him. You know, every negative thing that happens to black people in this country is a result of white people and their hatred for us. He even had the nerve to say white people taught us to read. Who kept us from reading, Charleston? Who passed the laws? Who made it a crime to teach black people to read, Charleston? You see, this type of nonsense, it only works on low IQ. I don't want to say IQ, low intelligence individuals who have no knowledge of history, who are completely unaware of anything that black people have been through. Just the very idea that black people are Americans is just an absurd idea, because they literally made us 3/5 of a human being in the Constitution. They dehumanized us in their founding document. And even after a war that killed more Americans than any other conflict, they still everything possible. Everything that black people have accomplished in America has been in spite of white people, not because of it. And I hate when black people say that we built this country. Yeah, under duress. Do you think your ancestors wanted to build this shit, or do they want to go back home? So it always baffles me when I hear this nonsense. This dude, it's not enough. I don't know. I mean, I know we can't really endorse violence on this site, but I don't wish death on anybody. But I have read some obituaries, right, with great excitement, and to quote Mark Twain. So I don't wish death on Charleston White, but if his obituary came up in the newspaper, I might cut the grill on to celebrate. That's all I'm saying. But everything he says is just so ass backwards. It's so contradictory to history. You really have to be out of your mind to listen to anything he says. White people, I mean, even when he says that you go to other countries, maybe people don't love you. It's straight out the State Department talking points. If you know your history, if you know the history of black people in America and across the world, many countries have been very sympathetic to black people in America's struggle. I always mention how when the 1979, when the Iranians took the hostages, they let all the black people go. During World War II, during Vietnam War, the Vietnamese, the Viet Cong would make a hey, soul brother, not your war. It's not your war. We don't have no beef with y'all. So to say that there's no respect, or we don't have no understanding of all the other countries hate us, he's nonsense. It's nonsense. What the fuck is he talking about? This dude is a clown. And just look at him. He's a modern day step and fetch it. I don't even have enough words to say how much I hate this dude. I'm literally having to come up with new words to describe much like, because it's not so much the fact that he's stupid, but he has a platform, he has a microphone. If he would just be stupid and quiet, I could live with that, you know. But to be loud and stupid is I struggle with that, you know. And his reactionary points of view are just devoid of any type of historical nuance or anything. To say that white people are your allies when white people are literally doing everything possible to take back every right we've gained, every right our ancestors have fought and bled for. What are you talking about? That's all I got to say. I'll leave it there. Thanks, Koku.
Black Seal was hitting them up. I like that. Black Seal, before you go, let me ask you a quick question, because you said something very important here.
Of course.
You said historical analysis. Not everyone is a historian. And Black folks got to start to learn that too about these folks on the internet. Not everyone is a historian. Some people just talking out their ass. But Black Seal, when he talks, when Charleston White talks about the gang issue and the negative music, do you agree with him in that, or do you disagree with him there as well?
I disagree with him on that, because the negative music and the gang issue don't appear in a vacuum, right? Black people's condition and what the way we respond. Black people have maladapted to a bad situation, right? So the gang issue doesn't appear in a vacuum. The negative music doesn't appear in a vacuum, right? What Black people have done is that we have maladapted to an oppressive system, right? Whenever somebody says, you know, make the analogy of crabs in a barrel. Crabs don't naturally occur in barrels. Somebody put these crabs in a barrel, and the crabs are behaving in a way that is detrimental to their long-term survival. But we ignore the initial catalyst, the initial cause. We focus so much on the effect that we don't look at the cause of the problem, which is white global domination, which is being put in a restrictive, oppressive, racist system. So Charleston White ignores that, but he wants to talk about gangs and negative music. Like, white people didn't need gangs. They didn't need rap music to lynch us. They were lynching Black people in suits when they were listening to ragtime and jazz. You know, you talk about gangs, but the gangs are a creation of a society that literally has closed most avenues for Black people to progress in society. So if you're not going to look at the root cause, but you're going to sit here and blame the victim, he really doesn't have anything to say. I don't think he's right on anything he says. Nothing. I don't like to look at him on them raggedy ass dating shows. He's a modern day minstrel, and the fact that he has people who say he actually makes good points is kind of hurtful. You know, he can get thousands and millions of views, and we struggle to get views on our show. And here we are talking real talk with educated Black people who actually love other Black people. It's really telling where our focus is. We got to get. I know we've said this before. We got to get serious, man. Black people have to get serious. The time for playing and half measures is done. So I'll leave it there. You know, he's not right about anything he says. He's a clown.
I appreciate that, Black Seal. I really do. It reminds me. I think about this thing Bakari says. He said it recently on a post I put up. I can't remember which. I think it was when African Streams was removed from a lot of major platforms. We got to get serious, like Black Seal said, but also we got to start working, man. We got to get to work, because these guys, they get their image and the talking points plastered all over the place. And we aren't. And reality is we need to get more people busy. We got to keep working every day, man. Bakari in the chat says he agreed with me, but the people that listen to him, to Charleston White, is more stupid. I do feel you on that, Bakari. Shout out to KW7 in the chat. He says, I see why Umar Johnson is refusing to interact with this Joker. Yeah, I'm seeing that too. Black Seal made a good point. I tend to like his takedown of the gang stuff, but you're right. He never includes the white folks who promote that shit, you know, who promote those people who do that. So well done, Black Seal. Thank you for that. Let's welcome in our brother Anthony McPhail this week. Anthony, how are you?
Man, I'm doing fine, man. How y'all doing, brother?
I'm good. Thanks for coming through.
Everybody, Black Steel. How you doing, brother?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Doing great, bro. How about you?
Yeah,
respect,
man.
Anthony. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Bonner. Yeah, man. This the brothers pretty much covered it, man. Steel, he did a great job on that. You know, this just on the thing. I'll give him another name though, Black Steel. You know what I'm saying? I call him Fiddler. Remember Fiddler from Roots. You know what I'm saying? I call him Fiddler. You know, when Kunta Kinte was, you know, when he was telling Kunta Kinte, "You in America now, boy. You in America. But you ain't no African no more. You in America." You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, you know, that's just some of the, when I listen, it was kind of funny to me a little bit because, you know, he got this like a comedian type vibe about him. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, just some stupidity, man. But, you know, like I was looking at something he was talking about earlier this week, man. I'm just like, you know, this Negro here is crazy as hell. I mean, you know, you can't take nobody like that seriously, man. Only fools take him seriously. You know, we got a lot of us act like some damn fools. You know what I'm saying? Listening to this foolishness that he's talking about. But like, okay, more, this is what I wanted to say. I want to go back to something that Brother Koku was saying. Like when you was talking about the part about being proud of where you're from. Okay, just check this out for a minute, Koku. Okay, you as a brother, as an African from the Bahamas, okay, you know, you had your country. That's your country. That's your nation. You had a nation. You know what I'm saying? You know, regardless of how it started, but you know, you have a nation. So you know what I'm saying? Those are some black people with a country. You know, and they run their country. They're the administrators and everything. So yeah, you know, you got a right to be proud. You know what I'm saying? But as and other black people from all other parts of the diaspora from Africa, they got a right to be proud. But see, this is a different dynamic with black people in America, nor with black people in Canada. You know what I'm saying? Or with black people in the UK. We don't live in our own country. We live in a place that we was brought to. You know what I'm saying? I mean, America is a white settler state. This is a white settler colony. You know what I'm saying? This is a settler colony. And no, I mean, this like even right now today. I mean, hey, you gotta keep it real. The majority of white people in America do not even look at black people like we're Americans. You know what I'm saying? Because in which we ain't Americans. What's the first thing they say in an argument? Go back to Africa. You know what I'm saying? So they don't even look at you like you're an American. You know what I'm saying? But what I wanted to say was, I can't say you can say you're a proud Bahamian. I can't say I'm a proud American. Because if I say I'm a proud American, I got to say, yeah, I'm proud that my country, America, that we slaughtered the indigenous people and took their land. You know what I'm saying? I got to say, I'm proud that my nation, my American nation, we bought African people from across the ocean and enslaved them for 300-400 years. You know what I'm saying? I got to say I'm proud of that if I'm a proud American. I got to say I'm proud that America invaded and ruled Haiti from 1915 to 1935 and that they did all that same shit, the big stick policy that they had all over the Western Hemisphere. You know what I'm saying? That they call the Caribbean our backyard. You know what I'm saying? I got to be proud of our military invading Grenada. You know, and all of the shit it did to undermine the Grenadian Revolution. You know what I'm saying? It contribute to the death of Maurice Bishop. You know what I'm saying? And to Patrice Lumumba being assassinated in the Congo. The CIA was behind that. So everywhere they went, Somalia, wherever they went in the black world, if I'm a proud American, I'm proud to be American. I'm co-signing with all of that shit. You know what I'm saying? How's a black man gonna be proud of all of that shit? You know what I'm saying? How I'm gonna be proud of right now, the cell phone I'm holding in my hand, that American corporations over there exploiting the hell out of the Congo for the coltan. It got children over there working for $2 a day. I can't co-sign. I can't say that. See, you can say that because you got your own country. I don't have no country. You know what I'm saying? I don't have a country. I'm just living. I'm basically like a colony myself. No, black people, we like a colony. No, we don't have no goddamn country. Even though we got as much arch in our back than anybody, want to fight for this motherfucker, you know, and do everything. And I'm American and all this pledge allegiance to the flag and all that shit. Even though they even in that national anthem, they talk about rebellious slaves. You know what I'm saying? I just can't do it. I can't co-sign with it. It's straight well for me as a black man who has some African consciousness, who's a black nationalist, who believe in Garveyism, who believe in black independence. I can't do it. You know what I'm saying? I can't look at it and say, man, I can't drape myself in that ugly ass flag. You know what I'm saying? The only thing I can do is wipe my ass with it. You know what I'm saying? I can't do that. Because I feel sick. I feel sick even when you call me a black American. You know what I'm saying? I always say I'm an African in America. You know, when you call me a black American, I'm not, no, I ain't dissing nobody. I ain't like, you know, I understand where you're coming from. You know, we just use it in context. But that made me sick. Don't call me in a motherfucking American. You know what I'm saying? Now, hey, I wish I was born in the Bahamas or Haiti so I can have a country. But I don't have no damn country, man. I don't want to go too far. But yeah, that's how I feel about it, man. And, you know, I don't have no country. I can't say I'm a proud American because America ain't never did shit for me to be proud of. You know what I'm saying? How I'm going to be proud of white nationalism? You know what I'm saying? We get up in the morning, send our asses to school and saying, my country, tears of these we land, all that shit from sea to shining sea. That's manifest destiny. That means taking over people's shit. How am I co-sign with that? I'll knock off right there, man.
Well said, Anthony. No, and you know, of course I agree with you. I think Trigger Happy on the screen puts it the best. I think black people in America can be proud of their history while on this land, but without being proud of America. So I do co-sign what you're saying. I agree. I just tend to mean that be proud of yourselves, of course. You know what I mean? But don't be a jingoist for America. You know what I mean? Thank you for that, Anthony. Let's welcome in our new panelist, Ditso Latin America.
Let me introduce. Yeah, Coco. This is one of my guests, brother. So let me just introduce him. He is he is a Afro-Indigenous American from Costa Rica, intellectual brother. You know, and I invited him on to the show because he's been on several of our platforms, Kofi and other panels. Very intelligent brother from Costa Rica, and I felt like he could add something to our discussions and dialogue because he is from the so-called Spanish-speaking world in Southern America, and hopefully he'll be able to give us some assistance in that side of the world, what's happening in the black world in that part of the world as well. So go ahead, Ditso.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm glad I was able to catch it. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me. Pura vida, Ewa. Those are two ways we say hello here. Ewa is an indigenous from the Bribri. Pura vida is the usual Spanish greeting here in Costa Rica. So to give a little perspective and to join what the prior person was speaking in regards to this, what's interesting for me in the Western Hemisphere, this place we call America, is that it seems that in the last 200 to 248 years of our history, those of us who are not in the United States have to continuously fight in reminding United States that the majority of slaves that were brought through the Atlantic slave trade were not delivered into what is modern day United States today, but it was between what was under the control of the Spaniards, Portuguese, French, etc. And that's mainly Mexico, Central America, current 7 countries, the current 12 countries in South America, plus over 700 islands in the Caribbean, which currently are just about 15 different nations, and then 12 different territories, either for the Commonwealth or for the United States. And that the descendancy of that slavery, either being mixed or be it monoparental or being Afro-Indigenous with that mixture, currently out of the population of all Latin America is about 150 million. We more than double the blackness of United States. However, what people don't come to realize is that blackness in the Western Hemisphere is highly influenced by the medias of the United States. And that contributes to the systematic erasure of of that particular identity. And we see it today with the conversations of FBAs, or Foundational Black Americans, as if the only foundational Black Americans in the process of independence in the last 248 years was that of the United States, which it is not true. United States may have started and became one of the first nations to become independent. But then if we look at the process of Haiti, Mexico, Central America, South America, etc., we start seeing that one of the major things that independence brought in the majority of Latin American countries was the abolishment of slavery. And it took 90 years for United States to abolish that particular slavery that our countries had abolished prior to the United States. Being the United States, Brazil, and Cuba, the last three countries to abolish slavery in that manner. In Brazil, it took them 60 years after their independence to abolish slavery, even though in the moment they became independent, they did abolish it. But there are historical conversations that can be related into Brazil. And then Cuba was the last one because they became independent until 1188 or 1888. So without wanting to monopolize the show, etc., I guess that the major, what really caught my attention of the prior speaker, he falls into a minority of those who feel proud of being a U.S. citizen in conjunction with the history of what is being Afro-descendants, Black, or any other term of that nature that you want to utilize. The majority I've seen in this conversation in my last 25 years as an adult having this type of conversations is that there is a pride, a major group of pride, even if the history of that of the United States and its relation towards the Afro-descendancy populations have clearly shown that it wasn't the best in any way. I mean, United States set up an apartheid state for over 100 years after the Civil War. But at the same time, that prideness gives a certain action of saying, or some saying, the only valid and legit Blackness in the Western Hemisphere is that the one born in the United States. So not only do they show that pride, but then they associate themselves directly or indirectly towards that that white man's imperialistic mindset, and they contribute to it in some circumstances. That's what I wanted to put on the table to perhaps elaborate more conversation. But thank you for having me.
No, I appreciate you coming through. Did so. For some reason, when Juan was saying Costa Rica, in my mind, I was thinking it was Colombia, but I guess it is Costa Rica. So thank you. And I appreciate all your contributions that you've had on the other shows too. I saw you on with Kofi the Black Critic. That was a good conversation. Kofi the Black Critic and Buana. Good conversation. So thank you for being here. Just stick around as we get through to everyone else, and then we'll have a further conversation after. Buana's next. Charleston White's message to Black Americans. What say you, Buana?
Yeah, so I'll try to be brief. Yeah, and considering some of the statements that was made, Black Steels made a statement. He said that this guy reminds him of a modern day Stephen Fetchit. That's interesting because, first of all, let me say this, Coco. Do you know Stephen Fetchit was family was from the Bahamas and their daddy was from Jamaica? That's a whole nother conversation. I didn't know that. I really didn't know that. But during Stephen Fetchit time, Stephen Fetchit was extremely popular, not only among white folks, but Black folks as well. And we have to ask the question, why was he so popular? And this particular gentleman, he is very popular today as well. Not only among white people, but many black folks agree with many of the sentiments that Charleston White has, whether we want to admit that or not. That's part of his popularity. He just says it in a way that the regular street man on the street will be able to accept a lot of the things. But Charleston White, if you look under his videos, you see hundreds of thousands of people listen to what he has to say. So he can't easily be dismissed. I don't know why it is. Maybe the algorithms direct these kinds of people and turn them into very popular people. I don't know if YouTube is creating these narratives where they make sure that these people's faces are within the algorithms, the Tariq Nasheeds, the Charleston Whites, people with their sentiments. You know, it's interesting. Anthony told us last week to listen to a speech from Amiri Baraka. Now, Amiri Baraka had a view that was almost a very nationalistic one, a very cultural one, a very Garvey-esque one, a very Pan-African one. But now you fast forward that message, and that message is flipped. Who's popular right now? Because in his day, he was very popular, Amiri Baraka. But today, these guys are popular. What messages are they carrying? They are carrying a very extremely right-wing message. Extremely right-wing message. You say, well, why are these guys? They sound like Thomas Sowell. They sound like Trump. They are very right-wing and extreme in their views, but they just have black faces. How is that possible? Could it be that the powers that be are creating these kinds of individuals in terms of popularity? Could it be? Could it be? Because the messaging has changed. Why is Charleston White so popular? I mean, if you just merely go through some of the comments that we'd have made, say the white man has not violated our constitutional rights. Everyone saw George Floyd's rights, constitutional rights, violated by the act of Derek Chauvin sitting on George Floyd's neck. And this man says the white man doesn't violate our constitution. I mean, does he know what the Constitution says? This is the first question you have to ask. Then he goes into the dialogue of, oh, the Africans don't like us. The Africans don't want us there. I'm like, anyone who would have read the autobiography of Malcolm X would know when Malcolm X went to Africa, how he was embraced by Africans and loved by Africans. Anyone who read or followed the life of Martin Luther King, these are popular people within America. They would know how the leaders in Africa embraced Martin Luther King in his time when he went to Africa. So why would this man say that Africans don't like us, they don't care for us, they would mistreat us in Africa? Where did he get that message from? I mean, did he go to Africa before? These are right-wing kind of tropes, because there was a memorandum, I can't remember exactly what it was, this guy named Zbigniew Brzezinski. He was an international political analyst for the United States of America. I think one of the things that he was trying to do, along with what administration it was, I can't remember the name of that. I can't remember the president who was in office at the time. I think that Anthony will be able to remind me. They were trying to keep the African Americans separate and separated from the rest of the African and Black world. That was a memorandum of the American government. That was an intentional one that they was trying to promote. And I think that is still in effect. That is still in effect to this day. There's two terms I want the audience or the brothers on the panel to consider. There's a term in prison parlance called institutionalization. Institutionalization. And the other term is called Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm Syndrome. Institutionalization. When a prisoner goes to jail initially, right? Initially, he on the outside world, he is used to foraging for his own food. He is used to fighting for his right for food, clothes, and shelter. But when he goes into prison or a plantation, after a while, that slave becomes comfortable on that plantation. He is fed 3 meals a day. 3 meals a day. He has provided housing. He has provided shelter. He's provided all these things. After 10 and 20 and 30 and 40 years, he started to say, you know what? This plantation, this prison ain't so bad for me. I become used to being able to get all the accoutrement, all the things that this plantation offers me. I could set my clock to know that I'm gonna be fed at 6 o'clock in the morning, and someone will provide it for me. After a while, that comfortability becomes love, endearment. The CEO, the master of the plantation, he loves me, takes care of my family. Look how he provides me the food, clothes, and shelter. All I have to do is work on his plantation vigilantly. He's become institutionalized. He is no longer a free man. He is a slave. This is the reason why I think Harriet Tubman say that she freed 1,000 slaves during her lifetime, and she could have freed 1,000 more, but if they only knew they were slaves. This is what she said. And these people don't know that they are slaves. He's become comfortable in his institutionalization and don't even know it. This is a dangerous thing. When a free man becomes a slave and don't even recognize that he is actually a slave or living and functioning as one. That's why he could make the statements, the only brother is my mortal enemy. The person who subject me and put me into slavery, he's like, that's my only brother. Imagine a statement like that. That's the level of institutionalization a man have to go through. After a period of time, yes, and you see it on display. You see it, and you see many people agree to this man's statement. Black people who look just like me and you, very dangerous. This is the reason why back in the day, running away was a dangerous thing, especially when you used to tell other slaves on the plantation. When you tell other slaves, they would snitch on you. They say, where you going? You trying to upset master's house and master's king for? I am comfortable here. This is institutionalization. A very dangerous thing. Very dangerous. But now it's become popular. Being on the plantation and being institutionalized has become popular now. Because we don't even want to talk about freedom. That whole thing about Pan-Africanism and doing for self, I don't want to hear that bullshit. This is what they say online. But it's ideological warfare. It's ideological warfare, and it's something that we, as people who may be a little bit better informed, must buttress against. And this is the challenge, I think, when we do these kinds of shows. But I'll leave it there, just to be brief. I'll leave it there.
I appreciate that, Buana. Let me just shout out Sister Roz out there in the chat. She says greetings to all of us. Jose is out there in the chat. Jose is now up on the panel. Before I go to him, KWAZ 7 said the guy who Buana was referencing, we talked about that on the show some years back too. He said he was President Carter's national security advisor. Real black gentleman added NSM 200 is the name of it. KWAZ 7 says Mink Sly, he's talking about Tariq Nasheed, mentioned this memorandum when he was cosplaying as a Pan-Africanist. Now he's following it, shaking my damn head. With that said, let's welcome in our brother Jose to the panel. Jose, how are you this week?
Yes. Okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. Not so, but I'm okay. I'm okay. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for being here, man. I appreciate that.
Yes. The topic?
Charleston White's message to Black Americans. You actually posted this, Jose.
Yes. I posted it. I saw it, and I saw the similarities with South Africa, and it's all the same. And maybe you guys remember as Cape Verdean, this nonsense is old. Like we are a new people, we are a new race. The African scarecrow. Everybody uses the African scarecrow, even South Africans, right? Like they steal I remember even Dynest wanted to blame immigrants, Caribbean immigrants, for gang violence, etc., etc., etc. So it's we're underestimating the phenomena. It's not. I'm afraid it's not as rare as we want to believe it. I'm afraid it's not a social media cult. It's everywhere. It's popping up in hits, and even if the artist doesn't intend to send that message, but it's being picked up as that message, and it's being so rampant. Everybody is. I don't know. It's like people don't see it. We talk about it, but we don't see the power of it. Think about it, right? When it was obvious that we didn't have rights, right? Be it Jim Crow, be it apartheid, or be it colonialism. Because in colonialism, life was actually the same as apartheid, but now nobody actually makes that connection. But anyway, in those days, it was obvious that we were oppressed, that rights were taken from us, and that's why we fought. That's why we resisted, right? And now it's not obvious. It's a mental. The bars are. I remember writing something like the bars are metal bars, or mental bars are stronger than metal bars, or something like that. So you see in South Africa and the United States, you're free to go anywhere you want. But here you are, proud of the corner that you protect that isn't yours. You can't go to your mama's home because she hates the face of your father. But you're so proud of your voting right, and the melting pot that the United States is, and all that nonsense. But between the lines, you hear misery, right? You hear unsatisfied people. A lot of them are old. I guess like my age, like half a century, or 40 or 60 years, or older. I believe most of them are older, and the younger ones, I don't know, maybe the younger ones are into pretendians, and those other fantastic short month studies, right? So I mean, these short month Americans, the February African, the February Black Americans, a lot of the nonsense. It's not even like I believe Tariq and this Charleston, they are pushed, right? The algorithm pushes them. I'm practically sure, but even with that, right? Where is our fallback mechanism, right? Where is our program we fall back on? Because we are partially, we ourselves are responsible. So I made this joke like a short month PhD. I came up with this joke for short month PhD, right? February Black American. But let's be honest here, right? A lot of the nonsense we have been repeating them every February, right? Every February we were black, and the rest of the month we had to wake up early and work for Massa. Also in February, but in February we were free to fantasize, and this is the result. So this is our heritage. This nonsense is what we have for our children. Like stop it, right? Let's be more responsible. Okay, it's being pushed. Yes, okay. And right, it's we are powerless against our own nonsense. That's what I'm trying to say. And I wish everybody good luck, right? Because my Pan Africanism is kind of changing. I'm protecting my mental freedom, and I'm like, okay, guys, you figure it out, right? You guys, you in South Africa, figure it out, right? Because this hurts too much. I don't even want to see you online with the nonsense. African Americans, guys, you figure it out. Yes, there were blacks present before Columbus, etc., etc. Figure it out. You know, you among you figure it out. Caribbeans, you among you, figure it out. South Africans, among you, figure it out, and we'll see each other. Good luck, right? But we need to do something to protect Pan Africanism, the image. We need propaganda. I don't care what this man does and white man does this and does that, etc. When are we going to save the minds of our next generation? And that's actually it. It's my fear that we underestimate the power of this bullshit. And thank you for giving me time to share.
No problem. I appreciate that, Jose. At this time, if anyone has any thoughts, don't wait for me to call on you.
I want to say something. Sorry, Coco. But something I want to say. He mentioned Stockholm syndrome, right? I believe that is an incorrect diagnosis, right? So what Black people have is not Stockholm syndrome. What we have is battered wife syndrome. And there's a difference because if you remember the original case with the Stockholm syndrome, right? The young lady, some people, they were in a bank robbery, and the bank robbers were very nice to them. The bank robbers were polite, and that over time they grew to sympathize with the bank robbers. Whereas with Black people, I say it's more akin to battered wife because white people have never been nice to us. They've murdered us, they've lynched us, they've castrated us, they've raped us. There's never been a, as a collective where white people have been nice to Black people. So I think that our condition, in my opinion, would be more akin to battered wife syndrome, right? Where we are constantly being beat on, mistreated, but yet there's still a desire to maybe one day they'll learn how to love us. They'll learn how to treat us with the respect we deserve.
Well,
I want to say that.
There's maybe there's another comparison to make, and that's this relation between covert narcissism and the so-called empath, right? And I've noticed in the Anglophone world, it's like only those two poles. It's the empath and the covert narcissist, right? But in Senegal, I met a French couple, and the wife was a psychiatrist or something in that area, and she had a model with a triangle, and so that third member, that's I think that's us. Like we always want to help. You know that you probably all saw that movie of that white mother asking about asking the child, the boy, her young child, what she would do, what he should do when he's in danger, and the boy answers like run to the first black man, right? And that's it, right? Even they punish us, they throw us like jinn, like in the Arabic world, the jinn, like I don't know how to call it in English, but in Dutch it's plaaggeest, like a ghost that
like a genie.
No, it's negative. It trolls you, like poltergeist, right? Poltergeist, like some kind of spirit that they cannot, they don't know, they don't know better, and it's out of insecurity, like they are afraid of our potential, etc., and they do their best to smear us, right? They move like a single person, like a single covert narcissism, covert narcissist. So the person that they hate, that that they marvel, they try to stop. Uh, 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 they try. They want this person to stop existing, and they want to be that person, right? So a covert narcissism will always make actually the person that they want to be, they paint them black. They smear them. So we are not the empath, we are the helper. So you have in this triangle, the white man is the or this white society is, because in the meantime we have this Charleston white and those type of people, FBA and black South Africans. So the covert you have the covert narcissism, that's the perpetrator. Then you have the empath and or the narcissistic supply, that's the victim. And I believe us Africans, we are the helper. We are the helper. We want everything to be good, and let's be friends and this and that. Let's behave. Let's be satisfied with voting. But we're free to say what we want. At least we're free to say that what we want. So we tend to believe in the narcissist because we are the helper. We want it to work. And that's, yeah, you can dive into it. I forgot the name of that model, but there's a triangle of the covert narcissist. Maybe you can look it up. I believe we are the helper, not the empath. I believe we are the helper. We always try to make something of it, even if it's this mess that the white man made. Like, listen to Charleston White.
If I may.
Yes, of course.
I want to contribute on something real quickly, but I want to make very clear points. One, as someone who is born in Central America, who lived in the North, Central, South, and Caribbean in the Western Hemisphere, who has had the experience of living with the diversified populations of Afro descendancy as well as indigenous throughout the whole Western Hemisphere. My expertise is in regards to the Western Hemisphere. In regards of Africa, I've never been there. I've never stepped a foot on Africa. Yet, as somebody from the Western Hemisphere, as a Pan-American, a concept that has been there for way long, at least 300-400 years, in this idea of Pan-Americanism, and more strongly after the last 200 to 248 years. I'm, of course, always inclined to support Pan-Africanism in the perspective of that unity of the 54 nations within the continental Africa. But I want to make a very clear distinction that I think, and I've noticed this is problematic in the Anglo-speaking section of the Western Hemisphere, and it's also emulated in Western Europe and emulated in the rest of the world. The problem is as follows. When we're speaking and referring about the Western Hemisphere, aka America, aka this collection of 35 nations, we have to make a clear distinction. One, the process of colonization that happened here was met systematically with fierce resistance. To give some examples, Pablo Presbere in Costa Rica, Tupac Amaru in Peru, and many others that were there. From that moment of the arrival of Europeans up till 1776, we see that systematic blowing up of those revolutions of of slavery as well as of indigenous, and a combination of those two, which then culminated eventually in the process that we know as independence. One thing that I've always looked into is that, for example, if we look at the era of independence in Africa, there are three clear stages of that process of independence, of decolonization, of becoming free as possible from the Europeans in that sense. And that three stages, what is extremely fascinating to see and to analyze in every sense of the word, because the first country to become independent in Africa, and I guess I will be speaking to the choir on this one, but just to make it clear, was Liberia in 1847. Then it took a 60-year period, and between 1910 and the 1941, only three other countries became independent, which were Africa, Egypt, and Ethiopia. And then the major gross of those processes of independence started happening from the 50s onward. The last country to become independent in Africa, if I'm not incorrect, please correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but it was South Sudan, the Republic of South Sudan, on 2011. This being understood, this process, in contrast to what happened in Western Hemisphere, by the time the majority, or by the time Africa started the process of independence, the majority of our countries, either United States or then Mexico, Central America, South America, had anywhere between 40 to 20 years of being independent already. So one thing that really amazes me, that creates this disjunctive, huh?
I'm curious where this is going.
I'm sorry. To be very concise, why did I give this explanation? Because one thing that amazes me is that the necessary recognition of what happened in the last 200 to 248 years and the influence that had in other parts of the world of where colonization was happening, be it Africa, Asia, is necessary to then understand that clear distinction between the African descendants of slavery in the Western Hemisphere and their involvements or our involvements in those processes, as well as the indigenous and the mix, versus the African that has always been in Africa, or the Asian that has been in Asia in many ways. And that distinction takes us to a clear conversation that needs to be well established, and that has not happened. And the reason that it's not happening is because
What's the conversation? What's that conversation? Not why it's not happening. What's the conversation?
Okay, the very basic conversation is how in the last 200 to 248 years the establishment of modern day democracies, starting with the Western Hemisphere, has created the conditions to not only I'm trying to be very concise, to not only understand why we're at the stages that we're at today in the history, but also the relevance of how African descendancy in the Western Hemisphere contributed and formed that notion of freedom and democracy, as well as indigenous
democracy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to understand. So I may formulate my phrases a bit edgy, but are you proud that you have democracy? And maybe you think there were no revolts in there was no resistance in Africa. I'm trying to understand. So what is this conversation that is not that we didn't have yet? What is this conversation that we need to have? Please help me.
Well, let me just jump in real quick, because we're a little bit off topic. I want to bring this. This is the follow-up to all the conversations that all the participants had. So, number one, I like y'all to be brief with your follow-ups. but also keep it on topic. We talking about Charleston White's message to Black Americans, and amongst that message was this idea that Africans will treat Black Americans badly, and that the white man is their real ally and brother. So, is there any follow-up conversations to what others have said concerning?
I just want to say something really quick before we go. Charleston White talks a lot of crap, but trust and believe that he has no real traction among the people, right? He's a big mouth. He has a platform, but the reason why he's being pushed, the reason why he's so popular, air quotes, is because the empire knows that their back is against the wall, right? They know they can't maintain their domination of the planet for too much longer. They're trying to juggle too many things, and the world is on the brink of war, right? We already see what's going on over there in Lebanon, over there in the Middle East. We can see escalation at any time now. So the empire, the American empire, needs to maintain their control, and need to make sure that if they can't maintain their physical control, they're trying to maintain the mental control. And that's why you start to see the Charleston Whites and the Tariq Nasheeds, because their grasp is slipping. And that's what I think we have to focus on. This is a cry of desperation. I think we need to pay attention to that.
I agree 100%.
100% that it's a cry of desperation, and it's an attack on the freedom that's happening, because what's happening right now on the African continent is the counter against this vibration of in South America and Charleston White's vibe. Like we're safe here in freedom and democracy, right? So I was going to pull it back to the subject, Charleston White, with what the brother just said, the freedom and the democracy. Okay, you guys are satisfied. Us Africans are not yet satisfied, right? You can see it in the Sahel. Freedom. This is not freedom. This democracy that the West has this view that the West has pulled over the globe is not freedom and democracy. It's a joke. We need to work. We're not yet there. We're not the boss over our own minds because of those spells that they throw at us. Freedom and democracy. What freedom and democracy? By their rules? We practically, the whole world thinks freedom and democracy is on this side, and that's good, and the rest, Russia and China, that's not freedom and democracy. And oh yeah, the mess in Africa, that's not freedom and democracy. We are free and democratic. That's the soft way of saying exactly the same thing as Charleston White. Thank you.
Look, in matters of Charleston White, I've heard his message, and as a Latin American, all I hear is the words of a gringo, what we call the gringo mentality. The exceptionalist, self-righteous, self-centered conversation that keeps on pushing a ahistorical bullshit. The Tariqs, this type of guys, etc. Those are the gringos that speak without understanding the history of the Western Hemisphere or even this continent that we call America.
If there's no last thoughts on this prompt, I'll go to Shooter Breeze topic number 2 tonight. Shooter Breeze topic number 2. Good discussion, by the way, but let's just keep it on topic. Also, for those who might be new here tonight, we try to get through 5 topics by 11 p.m. So we have, I mean, if a conversation is going well, you know, we might not make the 5, but we try to make the 5. All right. Should be topic number 2 says, we blame the white man for 95% of our problem. This came with a video taking us to YouTube. Looks like this brother Nuri Muhammad is speaking. So we'll play the video. We'll watch it and then we'll discuss it.
I heard you once say, we know how to make money, we just don't know how to spend it. Black people blame white people for 95% of our problems and still spend 97% of our money with them. Can you elaborate on that comment, please?
That's exactly, we're close to the quote. I think I said that we've got dollars, but what we need is sense. You know, when you count the mathematics and look at black people as a nation, there's 233 independent nations on the earth. Out of the 233 independent nations, black people at $1.3 trillion are the 8th richest nation in the world. Yet we don't have anything in our community that we can call our own. So by the simple fact that we're the 8th richest nation on the earth and we don't have our own educational system, don't feed ourselves, grow our own food, is a sign that we got dollars, but we need some sense. So I said we blame the white man for 95% of our problems, but we still spend 97% of our money with them. That's bass accurate, if you caught that.
And what's wild to me is that, like, I just observe life as it is. So every city I go to, I'm here in Indianapolis, right? And when I look around, I see black people suffering. But then on the other hand, people tell me black people are doing great. And sometimes I think they distort their position for the masses of the people.
Well, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad made this revolutionary observation about how to properly judge the rise or the fall of us as a nation. He said, no one individual can rise above the condition of their people. So you never should judge the individual few poster child mannequins in the storehouse of democracy's window, Negroes that have made it, to justify that we have made it as a people. We do have $1.3 trillion in money. That's income, though, and that's not wealth. So when the math is calculated, black people only possess less than 2% of the wealth of the United States of America. Income and wealth are two different concepts. Income is the money you earn by exchange of your time or the sale of a good product or service. But wealth is when you exchange that money for something that either keeps value or increases in value over time. Black people, we are the leaders in unnecessary spending. We buy stuff we don't need from people that we don't like to impress people we don't know. And at the end of the math of the equation, we end up having nothing but a whole bunch of name brand stuff, but never businesses that we can pass down to our children or real estate that increases or keeps its value over time. So we've got income, but we don't have the wealth. That's why I said we've got dollars, but we need some sense. Out of that $1.3 trillion, Brother Lynn, do you know that we spend $23 billion a year on clothes, $11 billion a year on furniture, $3.2 billion on keeping up with the latest cell phone that came out, $46 billion on cars, $60 billion on legal and illegal drugs, $32 billion dressing up the outside of our head. But when it comes to dressing up the inside of our mind, which is the purchase of books, only 300 million is purchased in books. That would be fine if God said in Hosea 4:6, my people are destroyed from a lack of sew-ins, or my people are destroyed from a lack of temple tapers or phase, but my people are destroyed from a lack of knowledge. So we should be investing more in the building up of the mind and building up of our character, getting the sense that we need to go with those dollars, so that when we marry our wealth with some wisdom, we can actually leave something behind for our children and our children's children that they can call their own.
I'm glad you said that. I have to put myself out there before I criticize anyone, right? When I was younger, based on my environment, it's a learned behavior. I'm ashamed to say this now publicly, but I thought I had to spend money. I really thought I had to spend money. Like if I had $100 in my pocket, I thought if I went out, I had to spend $100. I'm not sure if you had that mind frame younger on.
Well, I did too. You know, unfortunately, Black people's brains have been hardwired where we connect happiness to spending. We have to disconnect the wire in our brain from happiness and spending and take from happiness to saving and happiness to investing. Do you know that rich people stay rich because they pretend to be poor? And poor people stay poor because they pretend to be rich. We spend money. We literally are trying to buy respect, and we go broke trying to look rich. So when the math is done, I was talking to a brother in our barbershop one day, and I was telling him that when you have enough on the inside, you don't need the stuff on the outside to make you feel like you are something. And the brother, look, he verified the position. He said, you know what? I'm gonna tell you the truth. Me and my guys was out. We went to out of town, and we was on our way to go to the club. And whenever we start getting dressed, my partner realized that he had left his jewelry. And the minute that he seen that he didn't have his jewelry, I noticed that he got sad. And he didn't even go with us. Next day, I went down to the counter at the hotel room, and he was opening up a package. He had somebody overnight his jewelry to them. And when he grabbed the jewelry out, he took his watch, his chain, and put it on and told me, hey, I'm back. But he never went nowhere. Problem is that he felt a sense of worth from what he put on the outside of himself. But the real sense of worth doesn't come from the jewel you put on your finger, your wrist, or your necklace. The real sense of worth comes from the jewel you put in your mind with knowledge, wisdom, understanding, discipline, and character. So that we got it all twisted. And just like you, we had our brains hardwired improperly, where we connected the wire from happiness to spending instead of to saving and investing. And unfortunately, we have outsourced our happiness. We're looking for happiness to come from other people and other things in the outside material world, when the truth is happiness is an inside job.
I wanted to bring up one of the issues I have with everyone speaking about financial literacy. They break down the theories of things to invest in, but they don't talk about the internal things that needs to be done for you to be financially responsible.
So financial literacy is learning the alphabet. Financial literacy is learning phonics. You're learning how to sound out words. But when we were in school, they had another part of all the tests called reading comprehension, which means that I know how to properly dissect, discern, and make decisions based off the information in front of me. So we need the ABCs, we need the phonics of finance, but we also need to learn how to understand finance, comprehend it, that we can use it in the real world. So that's what you're saying. It has to go to another level where we learn how to use a dollar.
But even more than that, Brother Muhammad, is dealing with the insecurity and the ignorance that fuels us spending. That is what's not being touched on.
Well, that's, as we said earlier, see, the less you have inside of yourself, the more you think you need outside of yourself to make yourself feel like you are something. But if we began to really baptize our mind into a thorough knowledge of ourselves and began to feed our mind scriptural wisdom about the greatness of the original people and the power we have, the fact that we are the direct descendants of God himself. We literally are children of the Most High God, born with God's genetic makeup, holy heredity, and divine DNA. Prosperity is built in our plasma. When you start learning the rich legacy of where we came from, not just historically, but scripturally, then you start operating in the world where you have so much inside of you that anything you add to the outside is just a bonus, but it doesn't define you as who and what you really are. This literacy thing, financial literacy, it is good, but it has to transfer into wisdom and understanding of finances. In my meta-analysis of over 100 books on finance and investment, etc., I found that white people teach their children not just financial literacy, but teach them financial understanding and financial comprehension. And the general rule that you'll find that most Caucasian and wealthy people teach their children is to follow what's called the 10-10-10-70 rule. 10% of your money you should give to a cause you believe in, charity. 10% of your money you should save, put it in a savings account for yourself. The other 10% you should develop an investment fund to figure out how you can find something to make your money work for you instead of you working for your money. And then the rest of your life should be lived off that 70%. And I've also found that you'll see that wise people, they do not buy something once if they can't buy it twice. And if we started following that 10% charity, 10% investment fund, 10% saving, living off of 70%, not buying something once if we couldn't afford to buy it twice, we'll find that we are putting ourselves in a position where we always have cushion capital to deal with the problems of life, and we will not be engaged in this excessive, unnecessary toil that comes from poverty. We'll be able to have a freer mind, less stress, and be able to have access to our creativity, find our purpose, fulfill our purpose, and get some real joy and happiness out of life.
Fight, you need to talk about this cushion and how it minimizes stress. That's like the most important thing with your bread. Like you have to always have a cushion because it keeps your stress level down.
That's right. You have to buy peace. You know, buy yourself some peace. See, the excessive toil that comes from poverty produces an undue amount of worry and pressure on your mind about what's going to happen today or tomorrow. And that's the difference really between life's negatives being defined as either a problem or a situation. See, if you have one of life's issues that show up that cost $1,000 to repair and you got $10,000 put up, that's not a problem. It's just a situation. But if you've got $1,000 issue of life that shows up that you need to repair and you only have 800, that's not a situation. Now you got a problem. So the blessing of resources is not what you can get with it that you want. The blessing of resources is not having to worry about fixing whatever you need to fix when you need to be able to do so. So, you know, that's what cushion capital is. And I learned that from that meta-analysis. And I've tried to operate where I set aside resources so that when a circumstance does show up, even if I don't have it in my operational budget to handle it, I'll borrow money from myself at no interest and pay myself back and keep it moving. So that's a mathematical equation. We have the dollars, but we don't have the cents. Do you know that with $1.3 trillion, we are richer than Spain and Mexico? Spain has 46 million people just like us, but they're maintaining a 208,000 square mile landmass where they have their own educational system, their own government. They have their own world with the same amount of people we have with $600 billion less money. Mexico, 637 billion is what they bring in a year, but they're maintaining a 761,600 square mile landmass with 130 million people. Now, they're not living up to the standard that you might want to live up to, but don't tell me that they got 3 times the amount of people as us and half the money, and they have their own nation. We got double their money and only literally a third of their population. What should we be able to do for ourselves? We should stop, Brother Linton, spending so much time trying to repair the system. And let's take the resources that God gave us in our capital and in our wisdom, marry them together and stop trying to repair, and let's do our job to replace. That's what.
I stopped that a little bit short, but I think we got the gist of it. A lot of comments in the chat. Look like some of you guys are chomping at the bit to discuss this. I feel like Black Steel is probably getting the pot ready. So let me start with Black Steel. Black Steel, what say you to we blame the white man for 95% of our problems?
We need to blame the white man for 98% of our problems. Listen, white people get away with a lot of shit. The white man's PR is immaculate, right? White people go around and commit genocide on every inhabited landmass, commit ecocide, commit omnicide, but yet here we are turning around and talking about something ain't the white man's fault. It's all their fault. Fuck them. It's all their fault. So a couple of things he said that I took issue with. Number one, the idea of financial literacy, right? And I always take offense to that because Black people ain't got no money. Just for example, right? The median income for African Americans in the United States is $41,361. the national media income is roughly 62,000, right? So the national media income in the United States is 62,000. That's median. That means household, right? For Black people, it's $41,361. That's almost $20,000 less. Where's all this money talking about coming from? Even he said it himself. The money he's talking about is income, not wealth. All right. So the median income for white people is $71,000 for white people, whereas Black people is only 41,000. All right. Unemployment rate for Black people is 6.5. Unemployment rate for national average is 3.9. So what is he talking about? All this money. And then whenever they talk about this problem, right, they talk about how we spend things on inappropriate things, as if white people got their money through thrift and industriousness, and they pull themselves up by their bootstraps. No, white people got their money through theft, through murder. Okay, white people didn't gain control over over the continent of North America because they saved their money and they worked hard. No, they killed the Indians and they took their land and they brought over Africans and forced them to work for free. That's why white people have money. Okay, so I hate the way we sanitize these crackers, right? And make it seem like here they are just working so hard. And if Black people didn't buy sneakers, if they didn't buy their kids a PlayStation, we would be so much better. Like Dr. Umar would say, "Oh, don't spend your Christmas money and donate the money to my school." What are we talking about right now? What? But they want to push this myth, right? Another thing too. We talk about Black people don't have schools, don't have banks or whatnot. Are we just going to ignore the fact how Black institutions in the United States were systematically destroyed and undermined? Whenever you had Black people who built wealth, you had white people coming on to destroy it, who will burn and kill and literally take the land from Black people. It always makes it seem like Black people just got free from slavery and we didn't do nothing. But we just sat on our hands playing checkers all day and let white people just come up and take everything, and we just sat back and do nothing. And while we was out here, buying carriages and going to sock hops. What are we talking about right now? This is again, it's a lack of historical analysis we're talking about. But then this is a member of the Nation of Islam, okay, who believes that we're from the long lost tribe of Shabbat. They're another cult. We talk bad about Jehovah's Witnesses. They're just another cult, just like another. I don't have no patience for these people, right? Because they talk a good game, but but it's not rooted in reality, right? There's no difference in the Hebrew Israelites. One day God's gonna come back and punish the white man as long as we, keep the Sabbath and eat a kosher diet, whatever the fuck that means, right? We got to stop living in Narnia and Middle Earth and whatever these magical fantasy lands, and let's deal with reality. Black people don't have no money, okay? A lot of the luxury goods we have, we buy them on credit, okay? We take a credit card and we could save for a luxury good. Most Black people spend their money on housing, on food, okay? This whole idea that we just sitting up here on money and we just fucking it off and buying weaves and it's a racist trope because white people didn't get their money through hard work and industriousness. You can't name a landmass on Earth that white people haven't gone and killed the people and stole the land and stole the resources. There was a mountain of silver, I believe it was in Peru, that made the Spanish Empire wealthy beyond all imagination. They didn't get it because they studied hard and they taught their kids to save some and give. No, that's not what they did. What are we talking about right here? I'll leave it there. I'm getting heated right now. Peace.
I appreciate that, Black Steel. Ditso was saying something similar to you, Black Steel. So I'll hear from him now. Ditso, what say you to what you just said?
All right, so thank you. It's gonna be very simple. One, he loses. I'm gonna say it this way: Positive things he said is, yes, we can agree that there are grades of economic illiteracy in populations of Afro descendancy throughout the whole continent. That, yes, we can agree that there are some bad decisions happening. However, nothing in regards of generational wealth, nothing in regards of the impact of economic bad decisions of the different countries in this Western Hemisphere. Nothing to do with, he mentioned about the drugs, but he just scraped over it. Nothing to mention about the impacts of the war on drugs on Afro descendancy populations, either in the United States, Canada, Mexico, and so on. Nothing to say how that the necessity has created then a direct link towards the participation of these populations, therefore having more affection in the matters of the war on drugs. Then I'm going to say it out loud. Islamic or Abrahamic religions are the tool of the white man that was utilized to destroy. And I have no respect whatsoever for individuals that mix a political conversation with a divine one. At that moment, what I'm seeing in front of me is a white man, not a person with melanin or someone like me. But yes, I will concede that I am an atheist. I have rejected all forms of religion. I give a damn about those religions. But I also see that type of conversation, mixing religious concepts with the political analysis, is the terrain of tyrants. And that terrain of tyrants had historically been European, aka white. And it's not like Islam is innocent. Islam invaded and conquered other people too. So in this sense, yes, we can have that conversation about the economic woes and the economic problems that affect Afro-descendancy of any of the nations, well, in my particular case, of the Western Hemisphere. But we must also call out, and I agree with the prior speaker, that the toxicity of Islamic or Christian or Catholic mixing with politics is a problem that is also affecting the Afro-descendancy in the Western Hemisphere as well as in the rest of the world. They become the worst enemies that one can have when we're trying to fix the issues or progress towards better outcomes. And if we continue allowing that, we're not gonna progress. We're gonna regress into the hands of tyrants that use religious ideas to control us. The worst enemy of a black man in the Western Hemisphere as well as the rest of the world is not only the white man, but the religion and the fundamentalist religion.
I appreciate that. Did so. In the chat, Sister Ross says yes. She says yes. I conditioning programming for sure. Trigger Ivy 262 plus adds, LOL. There has been another debate on Twitter between Pan-African socialists and Dwayne Omowale on Arabs invading Africa and bringing Islam. The socialists are saying Arabs are black. Then he uses some crying emojis. I saw that as well, Trigger. I thought that was a very interesting conversation that was going on there. With that said, let's hear from Real Black Gentleman. Real Black Gentleman, what say you?
I mean, I'm not a big we all know as black people, you know what I'm saying, the tens of millions of black people in the United States and the tens of millions, hundreds of millions more outside, you know what I'm saying? About knowing how to spend money. And I mean, money is one thing, but one of the most important things that a nation spends money on is like military and armies and stuff. And, white people don't have army money like that. You know what I'm saying? They got these Patriot missiles going at $1 million a pop. You know what I'm saying? Who do you know in the hood got the missile factory? I always tend to say, like, who in the hood got these satellites? Who in the hood got these that's getting this info? So, like, it's one thing to say, you can, and it is true. You don't want to, it is important. I mean, you don't want to be reckless in spending. You do want to save, but as much as saving goes, I mean, then, you have to start breaking down, like, if it were so easy, I mean, we would have already had this groove in. It's called a bank, where, like, black people just put our money in, but yet and still, like, financing is not as easy as, is made out to be on purpose. Because if it was, we would be having more banks than churches. For example, we'd be having more banks than mosques. Where is the NOI bank? You know what I'm saying? It's just simple things like that, where, like, it's a bank, right? And, like, you put your money in a bank, just like, what I'm saying, these folks supposedly do. I mean, Africans didn't have banks, but actually we understood wealth differently. You know what I'm saying? Wealth is in people and in the materials, and make sure that things are upkept. I think, we had strong structures. You know what I'm saying? Our wealth is in our way of life. You know what I'm saying? Healthy life, you know what I'm saying? Healthy, health is wealth. And, like, if you were all sickly and stuff, I mean, black people knew well enough about, like, not going into excess, but then white folks come in with this odd stuff and got, I don't know, having excess of that, and then not enough for us, basically. So, like, we do. Honestly, I think we don't blame white people for enough of our problems, quite frankly. If we want to be honest, like, we say we blame, we don't do that. It's just, if we blame white people for 70% of our problems, we would probably be better off, because we don't really analyze, you know what I'm saying, what it is. He talked about, one of the things that tripped me up, he talked about, like, financial literacy is like phonics, and, like, I'm starting to break it down. It's like, yeah, but, like, you're not giving me an alphabet. It's like, what do you mean? It's like money is like reading. Financial literacy is just counting. You know what I'm saying? If you're literate with letters, but there's numbers, it's just knowing how to count and knowing how to anticipate. Financing, which is like the finishing off of a payment. That's what financing is. You're finishing off the payment. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is. I'm gonna pass the mic.
RBG dropped a couple of bars in that little statement there. I hope people paid attention to what he was saying. If black folks really did blame the white man for 95% of their problems, they'd probably have a better understanding of what's going on. They're probably better organized. That's an interesting take right there. With that said, let's hear from Jose on this one. Jose would say.
Yes. I think it's a poverty mindset to count your bills as wealth. I used to. I noticed that at a certain moment in my life that I had people around me that would count like to say that they had a BMW. They talked all the time about the bills, right? To maintain, to keep that thing driving, right? And I noticed something about that spending is not a way to measure your wealth. Like I said initially, right? You don't measure your wealth by your bills, right? And I remember I watched this video myself a couple of days or maybe weeks ago, and I remember reacting on it something like okay, you count your spending money, but is that really your worth, right? What is really your worth? Take yourself off of the American or European balance, right? Take yourself off of the balance of their balance and see what you're worth then, right? So of course I'm 100% Exodus, right? but think about it, right? If we are still on their equation, right? We are on their balance. we can sum how much we spend in their books, but that it makes no sense, right? That's not how you measure your worth. I'm this number. I'm this number in his books. Think, McFly, think. And that's I'm gonna keep it short because I think it's overwhelmingly clear. Like we're counting in his books. What how does that make sense? Thank you.
Appreciate that, Jose. With that said, let's hear from our brother Anthony. Anthony, what's it?
Yeah, yeah. Hey, I agree with all of the brothers, man. I'm thinking, okay, you know, I mean, you know, it's kind of funny listening to one of the brothers from the Nation of Islam, you know, break down, you know, financial literacy and financial, you know, and all of that stuff. If you think about it, go back to the 1950s and 1960s. You know, what was the main premise? The main premise of the Nation of Islam. You know, hey, have any of the brothers, y'all remember those Final Call magazines? Brothers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, those Final Call magazines. If you get those old Final Call magazines, at the bottom of it, one of the main things that they say, oh, it's called what we believe, what the Muslims believe. And this was something that he didn't even bring up really. He said that we want some land. That's what he said. We need land. That was one in those little proposals that they had at the bottom. We want land. Now he's talking about financial, about what we do and what we don't do as far as finance. I mean, he was talking some stuff that if you ain't educated, you know, in some things, if you don't have knowledge of something, you'll say, oh, that sounds pretty good, man. You know, he making sense. But I'm saying, basically what I'm saying, hey man, how the heck we consumers, not producers. You know what I'm saying? Black people in America, African people, we are consumers, not producers. You know what I'm saying? You can't consume your way into liberation. You know what I'm saying? You can't consume your way into freedom. You know what I'm saying? You can't buy your way into freedom. You know what I'm saying? You had to be a producer. You know what I'm saying? And to be a producer, you got to have land. Because what? Land is the basis. Malcolm told us that. Garvey told us that. The basis of power is land for a people. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, how you going to be a stateless people, a people without a land, a people without a country, you know, and be economically feasible, man, economically prosperous? You know, you got to have some land to produce. You know what I'm saying? To build your power from, your power base from. So, and I thought it was interesting that he didn't bring that up, being a Nation of Islam guy, but these new Nation of Islam guys, you know, they're something else. I mean, and don't get me wrong. Hey, I don't advocate for the Nation of Islam, you know, at all. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I really don't give a damn about nothing what they say. I don't even take them seriously. But I'm just saying, you know, at least at one time, that's what they was talking about. They was talking about land. You know, land being the basis of power, or your economic power. You know, he didn't even say that. He's just talking about how us buying wigs and weaves and all this old bullshit. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, I even think about, okay, let's take it here. We talk about because this is a global thing, not just with black people in America. I could go to the Bahamas. I ain't picking on the Bahamas or Bonaire and all Coco. The Bahamas or Jamaica or any other tourist destination in the Caribbean. Our nation's tourist destination. Like, you know, think of this here. All of the billions, the hundreds of millions and the billions of dollars that are brought into the Bahamas every year, you know, from tourism. Because, you know, the Bahamas is one of the main tourist places in the world. You know what I'm saying? People love going to that Atlantis place.
Yeah,
down
Paradise
there.
Island.
Yeah, going to a Paradise Island, Atlantis. I mean, and just think about all of that. Now, I can sit up and say, as a Bahamian brother, look at all of the billions of dollars that we make every year. But how much of that money reach down to the common people? You know what I'm saying? To the average Bahamian. Man, I know in some parts of the Bahamas, it's getting too expensive for Bahamians to go. You know what I'm saying? How they had these little tours.
That's a fact.
I mean, Hey, we can't even go over here to such and such island. I'm just saying, I'm just picking, I don't know a name of it. I'm just saying Andros Island just for the hell of it. I don't mean Andros Island. But you know what I'm saying? Well, this the island that Sidney Poitier, you know, they'd have made a tourist spot of that. You know, they'll take the white folks over there, European, other people. And hey, this is where Sidney Poitier used to live at. You know what I'm saying? Okay, let's see a Bahamian brother and sister try to go there. You know what I'm saying? And spend a night at a hotel or Airbnb. You know what I'm saying? I mean, look at the hotels down there. Let's go to Jamaica. I mean, they just had recently, it was in Jamaica where some Jamaican brothers and sisters was what? They were like, they kind of like had a protest thing like, man, we can't even go on the beach on certain beaches in some of them resorts. But then again, you know, we're saying, look at all of the billions and billions of dollars that come in tourism to our country. So, you know, when I hear about black people talking about all these black people in America talking about all these trillions of dollars we got 1.6 billion trillion or this or that or whatever the figures is. You goddamn, you buying shit. Yeah, you spending your money, you buying shit. Like you said, we got a $1.6 trillion buying power. But what about your $1.6 trillion producing power? You know what I'm saying? What you producing? You going out buying shit and making somebody else rich. You know what I'm saying? We talk about the motherland, about Africa. Africa's rising and Africa is the richest continent. You know what I'm saying? But where does that all of those billions and trillions of dollars trickle down to our people? You know what I'm saying? Where does it trickle down to our people? It don't. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I get sick and tired of hearing this old mess until we start controlling our own stuff and taking care of our own, and taking control of our own destiny. Man, I don't want to hear nothing about we got this here kind of, this 1.6. Yeah, we the richest, we the 8th richest nation. Why are you a nation? You ain't got no damn land. You know what I'm saying? How you a nation? And he admitted himself that you don't have no viable institutions. You know what I mean? You know, all of this foolishness, man. You know, I don't be one. I don't have time for this stupidness, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we know what we have to do. You know what we know what we have to do. And of course, like the brothers, like Black Steel say, of course. Yeah. You know, hell yeah, that honky is responsible for a lot of stuff. Cause I mean, he not gonna ever make the road smooth for you to be all you could be. But at the same time, you know, we also have responsibility for ourselves. No, we got to do what we got to do. Yeah, we got to deal with him, but we also got to do what we got to do. But we need to quit all this old braggadocious stuff about all this money we got. But you got no goddamn money. I'll leave it at that.
I appreciate that, Anthony. Anthony used the Bahamas in a couple of examples, and no offense taken at all. In fact, it reminded me, I read a graphic during this week here, bringing it back to what Anthony was talking about as far as having land and managing that land, and the examples he used the Bahamas in. And I saw something like the percent of food imports in the region, in this Caribbean region, Central America and South America. And believe it or not, you know, the Bahamas is second highest importers of food. Trinidad and Tobago being the first. And I forget who was third, but I think one of the only countries in the region that has complete food sovereignty is like the country next to Haiti there. The
Probably Cuba. Probably Cuba.
República Dominicana, no. The country next to Haiti is República Dominicana.
Yeah, the DR has food sovereignty. Anthony, go ahead.
Coco. I just wanted to say something real quick. I was doing some research. I was on YouTube, and it's this sister. This sister is not as her. It is a group of brothers and sisters who they was talking about this very thing, and they was talking about how to make the Bahamas more food self-sufficient. No, I was just checking this out on YouTube, man. That's all I wanted to say.
And if I may jump in that real quickly, I mean, you're talking about my area, which is known as the CELAC, which is the community of Latin American and Caribbean states. So you're talking about my particular area in that sense. And yeah, I could go on for hours. But suffice to say, what is interesting in this sense, bringing up the example of the Bahamas, which is a foundational Black American country in the America, interestingly enough, part of the Commonwealth, something that Barbados just left, another foundational Black American country in the Caribbean, left the Commonwealth just recently. Jamaica is about to leave the Commonwealth very soon. Bahamas is being pressured to leave the Commonwealth. If we look at that particular subject, food independence, there are three major characteristics that need to be put on the table on the conversation. First of all, would be the CAFTA deal that happened back in the 90s, which is the free trade agreement between United States, Canada, Central America, and the Caribbean, which Bahamas was not part of. Why? Because Bahamas is part of the Commonwealth. Therefore, they would not have entered into that free trade agreement. Funnily enough, the conditions of that circumstances and the impacts towards sovereignty of food as a human right, especially in the Caribbean, is being sold out. And one of those particulars is the tourist attraction. Like it or not, tourism has a negative side to it. And one of those negative sides is the immigration of U.S. residents towards Bahamas or the Caribbean that take up then space and then take up that possibility of development of those type of issues like food independence and food production towards the internal Bahamas. Caribbean right now, it's an area that holds 43.9 million people. So just think about that. And 85% of those people are of African descent.
Appreciate
so just,
that. I just want to see, I guess it's my turn because everybody went already. I just want to see that Anthony is completely right in his analysis. Most people, when you come to the Bahamas, in the service industry, who work for hotels, most of them can't afford to live a week inside Atlantis. Whether you're taking your family on vacation and shit like that, all the maids who prepare your room, all the people who produce food for you and all that stuff, most of them will probably never want to stay unless they're getting some discount, because usually if you work to the hotel, you get big discounts to stay there with your family members and things like that. But if they were to pay tourist prices, they would never be able to afford to stay in the hotels that they stay in. And if you want to make money in tourism, you have to work around the big major hotels. What I mean by that, you have to be a part of transportation. That means that you own buses, and many Bahamians do own bus services. They own bus services, transportation services, where they shuttle tourists back and forth from the hotels, but you have to get licensing to get that. And that's a difficulty in itself. Then the other part of you can make good money in transportation as part of the so-called tourism model, which the Bahamians majority they have a control of. Another thing is entertainment. Jet skiing. You see, usually tourists go to the beaches sometimes, and they want to have jet skis and things like service, these kinds of entertainment and shit like that, beaching activities. And many young entrepreneurs, they buy jet skis and they're able to garner a whole lot of money from that. But there's a whole issue of licensing. The government taxes heavily these people to operate jet skis on these public beaches, but they are still able to make a whole lot of money within that industry. And you have all other aspects of entertainment, whether it's through you have a talent to sing, you could perform at hotels, you could have a little entrepreneur enterprise in that. Then you have gambling. You have a whole lot of multi-millionaires, young millionaires have been produced, because they have been able to create that so-called gambling industry in the Bahamas. So they're around the so-called big enterprise of where you see tourists come to the hotels, there are other aspects around tourism that Bahamians have been able to garner a lot of money from, because they don't work within the hotels as the labor. They use their brain. It's like, oh, okay. Since I don't want to be able to always be at the service end saying, have this drink, sir, or master, or whoever, they buy the little small things, or they engage in some enterprise around the tourism model, around the industries, and they've been able to garner a whole lot of money from that, bro. Sending their children to school, doing different kinds of things. You go to there's a whole lot. I don't want to get into that. I'll just leave that alone. But let me just say this. I disagree with most of the brothers' analysis in terms of this particular gentleman, because our economics is different, and I know I talking to my brothers who are more socialistically inclined. So I think that the difference is when Ditso talks about this particular gentleman, I think that he kind of confused. He kind of like he veers off a little bit, and he kind of introduces the religious and political aspect of what this man was saying as regards to economics, which is two different kinds of things. These are two different things. So I wouldn't necessarily I understand he's coming from the Nation of Islam. I understand that his religion is Islam and an Abrahamic faith. But when it comes to economics is more practical. I think that one thing don't necessarily have to do with another in reference to what this guy was referencing. Also, when Black Steel talks about the historical ways in which the white man has been able to use empire to garner his wealth, I don't particularly think that this conversation has anything to do with what this particular gentleman is talking about. And I can say why in a minute. Anthony mentioned specifically, he said that we are primarily consumers, which he is absolutely right. But what do we consume? Usually we consume things that there are products that don't necessarily benefit us. If every McDonald's I purchase a stock in McDonald's. I am still a consumer, but I am purchasing stock in the business and enterprise of which the products I buy from McDonald's. Therefore, I could pay for my Big Mac by buying stock in McDonald's. And if that stock rises, I pay for 2 Big Macs, even though I purchased 1 Big Mac. As a consumer in America, I have access to the Fortune 500 companies of the world. And with my money, even though it's small money, I could purchase $100 worth of what? $100 worth of Apple. $100 worth of Apple. I could purchase $100 worth of Burger King. I could purchase $100 worth of Starbucks. The same Starbucks coffee in which I purchase every day, I could purchase a degree of stock in that little by little by little. And after a while, these things will accrue more and more money after time. So yes, I am a consumer, but I am making an investment in what I am consuming. So I can get a benefit from that. If I knew, or if I had any kind of idea of what financial literacy, what this guy was talking about, if I knew about all the animals, a stash where I could put my money, a little bit of money, and purchase a little bit of stock, a little bit at a time through time, and I know that I'll be able to garner 10% on my money from 18 years old to where I am right now, I will be able to see the benefit of that. But if I'm ridiculous and I'm just putting my money in banks where I know that even if I put all of my money based on all of my labor, what I would have produced from 18 until now, I wouldn't be able to see half of that come back to me, because the banks don't provide interest. But other vehicles, when it comes to trading, when it comes to investment, they do. But if I don't know that, then I won't get the best for my buck, for my money. And yes, it's important to save a little. Yes, it's important to invest a little. 10% here, 10% there in a long time with so-called compound interest. This is another thing I learned. as a grown man, and I didn't know as a child that these things have advantageous value after a time. They have advantageous value. So I can't throw out the baby with the bathwater and say, well, the white man inherit all his wealth this way. No, there are some people who practice smart spending. They don't just practice conspicuous spending like we do. And you can't ignore the fact that we practice conspicuous spending where it was unnecessary. I'm not saying white men don't do. I'm not saying the Chinese or the Mexicans don't do. I'm primarily focused on our community, and we practice conspicuous spending. We are 100% consumers and not producers and not investors. I'm saying if we practice the so-called money game wrong, the consequences of that money game gonna come out wrong. I have seen, just like many of you all have, where you drive into very poor areas and you see $100,000 cars. You see $100,000 cars pulling up to apartment buildings, and I'm saying, what is the problem here? What is the problem here? These are things that we can't ignore within our community, and we have to have discussions like this. This man, when he talking to me, it makes a whole lot of sense. Maybe it doesn't to the brothers, but it makes a whole lot of practical economic sense to me. I'll leave it there, Kofi.
Cap. I got it. You know, I'm about to say something.
Hold on. I wanted to go next if possible.
So two things. One, as far as what Buana was saying, I did want to ask that follow-up question. No one's really addressing the soundness or unsoundness of the actual advice. I mean, is it sound to practice 10-10-10-40, 70, sorry, 10-10-10-70, etc.? So that's something I'd like you guys to address in your follow-ups, but also please keep it brief because I would like to get to another topic before the night's done.
I'll be fast.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So first of all, to what Buana was saying, Black people in our consumption. What were Black people buying back in the 19th century? Black people have always been poor. All right. So my question is, what were we buying back then that made us poor? If we've always been poor and our poverty is caused by our consumption and buying things we don't need, what were we buying back then? Were we buying Jordans back then? Were we buying, straw hats? Were we buying? We're going out to the ragtime band. What were we buying back then? The problem is that, here's the thing. We want to, for some reason, focus on the things Black people are doing wrong, right? And we ignore what white people are doing. They got us in the condition that we're in. So we can talk about Black people buying Jordans or shoes or clothes or whatever they buy, right? But when we talk about literally billions of dollars worth of wealth that were stolen from Black people, just from America, right? What created the white middle class? What gave white people an allowance? Is that after World War II, right? Many returning soldiers got the GI Bill. It allowed them to go to college, allowed them to buy a home. These same benefits were denied to Black soldiers, right? But we talk about what white people did to gain wealth. White people had opportunities that Black people were denied systemically. But yet we talking about what Black people are not buying with our money. What are we talking about here? People are allowed. Same thing I told Oni. It's okay for people to have nice things. Okay? That is not an excuse for Black people to be in poverty because they bought some shoes. Or you took your mom to a nice restaurant for Mother's Day. That's not an excuse for Black people to be poor. Until we look at the real systemic things behind it. And I see y'all talking bad about socialists in the comment. Don't think I don't see that. All right. I'll address that another time. But for right now, okay, let's get it understood. Sorry, my TV. This is Belichick. Sorry, guys, my TV. Let's get it understood that the wealth that Black people's lack of wealth does not come from our spending habits. I'm sorry. That is a well-used trope to focus the blame on us for the effects of racism.
Anyone else have any
yes.
follow-up?
if I may, just to answer that, hold up, real quickly. One, the problem, and I agree with most what the first speaker was saying. The problem with the arguments presented by this brother of the Islamic nation is that it is oversimplistic. It does not treat the underlying situations, and in a irresponsible way decides to then treat the financial reality or the financial woes as merely as a broken record advice. There are clear issues of distribution of wealth that has affected African American communities, not only in the United States but throughout the whole Western Hemisphere. There are clear indicators of problems of that generational wealth and that distributional wealth in the last 250 years. Has there been improvement on that accessibility of that wealth towards, and in particular, the United States? Yes, there has been some improvements, but those improvements have been minimal because the analysis of an economic sense cannot be seen from an isolated aspect. So he makes the wrong, complete and utter wrong conclusion, a trope of saying, well, the financial woes of the African American in the United States is because of their spending habits. That's bullshit. No, the economic woes of the African American in the United States, as well as in the rest of the Western Hemisphere, has to do with a clear economic system that has continuously and systematically put them in a disadvantage against the white man. And in a more individual sense, yes, there are some individuals who make wrong financial decisions, but that's not exclusive of just the Afro descendancy communities.
Anyone else have some thoughts here? All right, good conversation. What we'll do is we'll go to what's probably the last topic of the night. Should be topic number 3 says. Oh, you know what? Before I ask that question, let me ask a quick question of the panelists or people in the chat. If Farrakhan was to take his final rest tomorrow, who's the next in line to lead that organization? I'm just curious about that. Who's the next in line to lead that organization?
I have no idea. I have no idea the structure of
It'll be a civil war.
Ooh, interesting. Civil war. Always here for that.
All right, appreciate that.
I have no idea what that. That's a good question, Koku. I have no idea either, brother. I have no idea.
Who has he groomed for leadelership?
I think that his son, who is always behind him, who's always with him traveling as well. I think that he is probably the closest person who I would think that would assume his mantle if he dies. But I have no idea besides his son, his direct. I think everyone knows him, light-skinned guy, kind of like a handlebar mustache. He's always standing behind him. I think that he would probably be the most likely person.
Hey, I thought his son died.
Passes, but I have no idea.
Yeah, his son died.
Yeah.
It would probably be like somebody like a brother like Rizzo Islam.
No. His son, the guy who you talking about, that's not the guy who died. The guy who died was another one. That's not the one who was usually behind him. It's another one. Light-skinned fella. I forget his name now. But I know you talking about though, but that's not the one who died though.
Okay. Kofi was in the back. I don't know if Kofi was in the back for that whole discussion just now. Kofi, how are you this week?
I'm good. Now, I wasn't in the back that long. I rewind the discussion to see what it was about, and everyone is basically right. What he's saying is absolutely right. I'm gonna comment real quick at a different angle. The Nation of Islam is is pride with starting Black organizations. And they were part of the civil rights era where a lot of Black people mobilized and did for self, which is very commendable. I'm not trying to take anything away from that, right? The thing is, when you hear them talk about economical empowerment and why Black people aren't aggregating their money together, and okay, we spend $1 trillion, but it's an income, and it's not being spent together as a community. They're all right. See, the thing is about them, when I look at them, I'm like, hey, you guys have a successful community, right? In Chicago, they got like their own, they got bakeries, they got stores, they got all these things. The thing about them, and I find very hypocritical with them, they're not sharing their community with just everyday Black folks. You had to be a part of their organization to get this economical advancement. So it's pretty much like a club. So every time people from the Nation of Islam always giving financial advice on what they had to do, to me, I see it as a recruiting tool. Because how long has it been since Elijah Muhammad? How long has it been since Malcolm X has passed? We're talking decades, right? And they do have somewhat of an infrastructure. But the reason why I think while they're stagnant as far as their economy within their community is that you have to be a Muslim. You have to be that. So they'll talk to Black people because it's their people. But as far as like expanding them, from my view, from here, looking from the outside in, it's basically a recruiting tool. Because if they were really about that business and really about, this is what Black people need to get on board, they would expand that. But you gotta be a Muslim. You gotta be this. You gotta sell Final Call. Again, I support the NOI in their endeavors, what they do in this country, but I think they'd be more effective if they took that on the road and actually put the money where their mouth is, instead of saying, well, okay, welcome to the nation, brother. Welcome to the nation, sister. Okay, now we could do all this. They don't operate economically as Black people. They only act economically when it comes to the Nation of Islam. That's it. So that's just an angle. I mean, from an American standpoint, it's good. But internationally, they can't talk internationally because their white man is the Muslim. Like, you're not going to get TD Jakes.
Yeah, but Kofi.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Kofi, in every organization, you have to give something to get something, brother. You can't. I understand we want our people to be free, but to have, if I have an organization and I condition my people in a way to open that organization up to everyone, without having them give something to get something, then I am inviting the Charleston whites of the world within my organization. And what are they going to do? They're going to mash up my organization. Why? Because they don't have the requisite discipline that they need to exist in my organization. If you consider, right now, the issue is immigration in America. To have this unfettered access of foreign people coming into the country without them being quote unquote properly vetted into the system, they're going to mash up the system. So you must have, they must be first of all, they must be qualified to be a part of the American system first. Then we have to condition them in a way that they could exist within my system. You have to give something to get something. You can't just invite everybody in because they desperate and hungry. You got to mash up my country.
I don't disagree with that. But my problem with the Nation of Islam is, why do there have to be a religious test? Why do I have to be a Muslim in order to do business with you? That's my issue. Everything you're saying is true, but why do I have to be a part of a religious organization as far as, being a Muslim in order to do business with you? I thought it was about being Black. If it's about being Black, why haven't you taken your economical show on the road and replicated in Black society? Even during the time of the Nation of Islam, you had to be a part of the nation in order to do that. It was like, okay, my Christian brothers and sisters, hey, let's do business. You know what I'm saying? Well, we got a farm in the South, we got people in the South and stuff like that. All right, let's deal with the Black people there in the South. No, a Muslim farm, Nation of Islam farm, a Nation of Islam bakery. You could have your own, but why work there networking with other Black people? Because it's a religious thing. It's a group. Religion is always about who could be in your group, how many people you could gather. And that's what I see. But everything you're saying is absolutely right. But then Islam can only go so far because it's a political religious organization. And Malcolm X knew that because when he went and he saw what real Islam's supposed to be, he understood, oh, this is not what real Islam's supposed to be, but it is what it is because of black people being in America. So they have to have their own particular brand of it. But it should not have to be religion, because the next person or next movement is not going to be a person that's political. It's not going to be a person that's religious. It's going to be a person that's just going to be about the people, and that's it. So I'll rest it right there as we get to the next subject.
Appreciate that, Kofi. In the chat, but Bakari said Wesley Muhammad would be leader. I forgot about Wesley Muhammad. He was there. He was being pushed a lot just before the pandemic, I feel, and then I kind of lost track of him. Trigger Happy 262 Plus says, I don't mind organizations built on a spiritual basis because I think we need organizations built on African spirituality. Someone has to mute their mic. Built on African spirituality, and many of our problems will be more adverse to that than Islam. With that said, let's go to Shoot the Breeze. Damn it, I just lost it. Let's go to the next topic. Shoot the Breeze, topic number 3 says, the fatherless confuse the nation they are supposed to protect and provide. Is Zaddy going to hear our cries? This came with a link. I think Bakari was trying to get on. Bakari, I missed it. You can come back up as soon as you have a chance. This came with a link that goes to Twitter. It says, this is a very long but very educational on the state of Chicago. Someone just mentioned Chicago and our country because of Kamala Harris. So let's see what this is about.
Let's go ahead and get into this.
Gangs in Chicago are angry over the influx of migrants and criminals in their city. They say money that should be going to the African American community on the South Side is instead going to what they call non-citizens, and warn that turf wars between Chicago's gangs and groups like Venezuela's Tren de Aragua could see Chicago, quote, go up in flames. Photographer Matt McDermott and I traveled to Chicago's South Side to see what was happening for ourselves after we heard about a police report last month that the Tren de Aragua gang had taken over an office building there. We spoke to a number of young, hardcore gang members, as well as gang elders who have retired from the life, and just regular citizens who are very much part of the community. And they're all furious at the estimated $500 million that's reportedly been funneled toward new migrants in Chicago since 2022. They aren't happy either about what they say are Venezuelan criminal gangs that are leaving the shelters and spilling out into the South Side into abandoned buildings. I spoke to Tyrone Muhammad of Ex-Cons for Trump, who runs a street patrol and violence prevention program. He's gone straight since his days as an enforcer for the Gangster Disciples. And he said the situation is very tense on the South Side as turf battles between the local gangs and Venezuelan migrants heat up.
It is impossible to release gang members and criminals into our country through the borders and broken walls, and infiltrate them in our community that's already impoverished, that's already broken, that's already disinvested. And when the black gangs, the leadership in the black gangs in Chicago get fed up with the illegalities and the criminal activity of these migrants or non-citizens, the city of Chicago is going to go up in smoke, it's going to go up in flame, and it's going to be nothing that the National Guard or our government can do about it when the bloodshed hit the streets, blacks against migrants.
Zach Massey did time in state prison with Tyrone Muhammad, although he's only 27. He's a leader on the streets and said he's disgusted by the money going to Venezuelan migrants at the expense, he says, of the African-American community.
I finally actually talked to him on the translator app, and he told me all the things that he got going on, how they help him get car, apartment, clothes, link. So it's just like, I just be looking at it like they ain't got no Social Security, no, where they come from. He probably not even here legally.
Get right here, they get quick housing, quick funding, food. They get cars with no license. They can't even read English and stuff like that. So they get all these perks when they get here, and we still here starving. So what we gonna do about it? Are y'all gonna listen to our cries?
Corey Rogers was a Blackstone gang member for years. He drove us around the South Side and showed us areas where he said Trendo Awagwa and other criminal gangs are setting up shop and what he called showing the flag, which means brandishing their weapons in front of like a housing project.
The migrants that are coming, they're taking over every block right now in this area. Right now, you don't see them because they come out at night. They said they took this courtway over probably by last week. He said it was 100 Venezuelans standing out in the front right here.
Terry, is it an abandoned building? How do they just take it over?
They just, when you take over something, you just stand outside, and that's called showing the flag.
What kind of guns?
Semi-automatics, anything you name, you're gonna see it on the street. These boys got so many big guns that if they're 150 pounds, the gun is bigger than them. I swear.
But they know how to handle it, right? They know it. Tell me about the fact that they're criminals, right? This is a criminal element. These aren't just a bunch of Venezuelans that walked over the border and used to be gardeners back home, right?
Right. No. And they come from the gangland. They come from rougher gangs than us.
Control works, though, according to Democrats, right? According to Democrats, gun control works, except when it doesn't, right? It doesn't, because apparently they're smuggling guns into these migrant shelters, these facilities, via the food that comes in, all of the supplies that come in and stuff like that. They're smuggling weapons, they're smuggling drugs, they're running prostitution rings. I'm telling you, I mean, these little cities, they're going to turn into third world countries. That's what's going to happen. I mean, New York City has basically become Caracas at this point.
A Venezuelan gang has now reached New York City. Law enforcement officials are working to control the growth of Tren de Aragua, a gang that started at a Venezuelan prison, making its way to the United States and other countries. The NYPD says the gang is behind a string of store thefts targeting high-end items. Officers have also connected Tren de Aragua to ride-by robberies, which is when gang members ride around on scooters, snatching cell phones and expensive watches from people on the street. The NYPD chief of detectives says there were 415 scooter-related robberies at the beginning of June, but as of September 10th, that number has doubled. So far, the NYPD has identified 24 Tren de Aragua members out of the 14,000 known gang members in the city, but they believe the number of Tren de Aragua members is much higher. Police say they've been quick to blend in, and the gang is believed to recruit members arriving in the U.S. from inside the city's migrant shelters.
Residents and community leaders in Jackson Heights, Queens are once again sounding the alarm. They say crime of all kinds continues to take over the bustling Roosevelt Avenue business district.
Every corner is bad. I just witnessed a major drug deal, a wad of money right on the corner.
Those who live and work on or near the popular avenue say they are inundated with shoplifters and sidewalks with dozens of sex workers. A scene they say has gotten worse in the last few months.
There's a lot of good people, a lot of immigrants who like to work, you know, like you see in the restaurants like me and everybody. But a little new immigrants, they come here, you know, to rob people, and a lot of prostitution.
Pix 11 News has exposed the illegal business of sex workers multiple times over the years, including when the NYPD broke down the doors to prostitution parlors in January of this year. But the cleanup efforts seem to have no impact.
24 hours a day, there's prostitution running wild here. There is clearly sex trafficking. We got rampant drug sales.
Former council member Hiram Montserrat and Ramon Ramirez, founder of the Let's Improve Roosevelt Avenue coalition, will be presenting to local and state officials a 5-point plan to tackle the uptick in illegal activities.
At least 120 police officers. We need both the 110 and the 115 precinct to receive an additional 50 police officers each. And we need this avenue, Roosevelt Avenue, to be under the command of one police precinct.
Business owners and workers tell us they are losing money because they are constantly getting robbed by gang members and criminal organizations.
Sometimes the people go and take this and run away. That's happened like 6 or 7 times in this month.
Donovan Richards should bring the mayor here with Moya and see if they can do the walk that we expect our children to do every day.
Yeah, so I want people to understand, this is not just limited to these big Democrat cities. As you can see, Democrats, they want these illegals to be placed in small towns, okay? It's coming to small town America across the country. That is what's happening, right? What you see happening in Chicago, New York City, you see it happening in Springfield. I mean, I did a story about this happening out in Alabama, right? Where you have the illegals that are being imported into these cities. Yeah, it's going to be happening across the country. And nobody's city, nobody's neighborhood, okay, nobody's small town is exempt from the impact of illegal immigration, the negative impact of illegal immigration. And that's what people got to understand. A lot of people think they're insulated. Oh, it's not going to affect me. It's not going to hurt me, right? This is not something that's going to impact me until it does, right? And then they'll be boo-hooing and crying and saying, oh, well, I can't believe this happened, but you voted Democrat, right? This is basically what the black citizens of Chicago went through, right? They all voted for Brandon Johnson, even though Brandon Johnson told them straight up, I love the illegals, right? I think we should be a sanctuary city. They didn't expect to actually have to deal with the consequences of it. And then they're dealing with the consequences of it. They can't stand it, right? They're boohoo, whine, and cry, justifiably, right? Justifiably. But I'm just saying that you should have known. You should have known that allowing unfettered illegal immigration, that being pro-open borders, that sanctuary cities was not a good thing. It should not require you to go through this in order to realize that, hey, this is not good for the country. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.
All right. Let me just say this.
I gotta go. Can you let me go? I gotta go. As a New Yorker, I gotta go.
Actually, someone else asked me to go first because they have to leave. So, Real Black Gentleman, go ahead.
Yeah, before I say that, I just want to say the positive thing for the week. Janet Jackson, speaking truth to power, speaking her piece about how she feels about people. So I'm just going to say that, power to her, protect Janet Jackson, right? But about this, look, I don't like the title. I don't like who sent this in, but it just comes across as saying that the fatherless, black men, are somehow impotent to this. It is mocking the response that young black men, are having about, what they experience about how people are getting resources, how this is very, very structured and strategic about how these people from elsewhere are embedded in the midst of the United States and especially particularly in black urban centers. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I mean, I think I just want to know. I mean, if it was someone on this panel or someone who usually speaks in, which I'm afraid I doubt, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like because the dude asked that question, like who is going to hear our cries? And they're saying, is Zaddy going to hear our cries? It's like, what about any other demographic, especially females could understand like a sense of despair and like could like the alternation of adjustment towards furthering a solution to this isn't to mock the people who are in the midst of it, thrust into it and responding as if, all of a sudden, the supposition of a protecting and proposition, which is cliche as hell, which I want to say is a feminist talking point. That's all I want to say. They're funding people wherever you're from. If your country, right, just had randos from elsewhere, right, and just gave them all kinds of money that is all kinds of money relative to your daily expenses is exorbitant. Of course, you'll be talking and saying what's going on instead of being like, the people who's doing this is like a few people. It's like the whole like government, Biden and them, who just all of a sudden the border just open like gully. You can make arguments about, Republicans and, people with money needing people to do that work and don't care about that, but yet still this open is open. And so like all this rando shit from random people, they coming in everywhere and just look, you know what I'm saying? I think whoever did that wanted to get a rise. I think it was worded. It's very tacky. I'm just going to get out. But thank you for your time, man.
Thank you, Real Black Gentleman, for voicing your frustration there too. I do appreciate that. I think all of that will be addressed in a second, but I do appreciate that, and I hope we'll see you next week. All right. With that said, let's go to Kofi. Kofi, the Black Critic. What say you?
Yeah. Wow. There's so much to unpack here, and no disrespect to the brother that just spoke, but again, the Republican bullshit is working. So let me say this. So I don't know if you guys catch it. This is the Black conservative. The guy that's the Black conservative perspective. This is not a bipartisan perspective. It's not a fair perspective. It's a one-sided perspective, right? He's a famous YouTuber called The Black Perspective. All the Black MAGA coons and all the MAGA, that dude is a MAGA. This dude don't know what the fuck he's talking about. When Trump was here in the Bronx, and he has a video saying, look at all the support that Donald Trump has in the Bronx, and you saw nothing but white people. This guy was so confident in what he was saying. He's showing nothing but white people, and anyone that's from New York City knows that there's probably 3-4% of white people that live in the Bronx, especially in that area in the Bronx, is nothing but Black and Hispanic people. They even have people even saying that all these cars are from out of town. I'm only saying to say that you can't, this guy is not a credible source of what's going on. That's number one. Number two, yes, there is, again, I live in New York. There is a migrant crisis. I'm not going to deny that. That's why I'm not denying that. I was even taking the train to work one time and someone was screaming, like, this is unfair. You got all these migrants here and stuff like that. And they're getting this and they're getting that. And look what is Black people getting? That's a valid concern. But the part they were talking about in Jackson Heights saying, oh, there's all these drugs, there's all these crimes, all this prosecution. Bro, Jackson Heights had prosecution since, as far as I know, since the 90s. It was always there. So being hyper-focused on it right now, like it's something that the migrants did, is bullshit. Jackson Heights, all Corona, Ksenia, all those places in Queens, there was always a prostitution ring there since the 90s. So this fear mongering, again, not saying it's not getting worse, not saying crime's not there, it's getting worse, but to say that these people specifically brought a element that was never there, it's absolutely false. 2, 3. When they were talking about the gangs in Chicago, and another thing that other gentleman said, that the border is open. Again, he's repeating Republican talking points. At no such time, I give anybody $20 if they could show me a time during the Biden administration where the border was open. He's repeating Republican talking points. The border. So what they're saying, that there's no border patrol and there's no ICE, right? And we all know that that is a lie. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did not disband border control. So when you got Republicans saying open border, they're full of shit. What they're doing is fear mongering, right? So that's falsehood. So when you have migrants, or the reason why the migrants are in places like New York, why they're in places like Chicago, because these are not border states, but there are quote unquote sanctuary cities. You had Republicans, your great white hope, your great orange fucking hope, was busing, like Greg Abbott, which is the governor of Texas, was sending migrants, which is trafficking, was sending them to New York, was sending them to Martha's Vineyard, was sending them there, was sending them to Chicago. That's why they're there. You want to champion as Democrats as the bad guy for the situation, when your fucking Republicans is the one that actually sent them there to cause that. So going to the Chicago issue is that, before I go to the Chicago thing real quick, the reason the migrant problem is a problem for the Republicans and the Democrats. They both are at fault, right? Because the Democrats are too lackadaisical about doing something about it, and the Republicans are too xenophobic and racist to do something about it. So as of lately, you got to put it on the Republicans, because during the last, Donald Trump told them that they had a border bill, a conservative border bill that was supposed to be passed. And Donald Trump, not even elected official, saying kill the bill. The speaker, Mike Johnson, was saying that the bill is dead on arrival. So if you fucking Republicans are so concerned about the border and the border being fucking open, you shown they either being dishonest or you showing your political ignorance. You should be getting mad at the Republicans. That's why there's no border bill happening right now. So I'm saying that to say, what's going on in Chicago is bad. And I do feel how they feel like, hey, look, we've been trying, because I saw a story before that, look, we can't even get after school programs. Now, I'm going to say, I don't know if they're being funded through Illinois, the state, or they're getting funding from the government. But either way, it's a bad look for Illinoisans, for Black people that live in Chicago, that's fighting to get certain social programs. And you got some newcomers come in and they're like, yo, what the hell? How they're getting all these things and we can't get these things. So that is a legitimate gripe. That is a legitimate thing that they want. But to point the finger at, again, it's an ongoing problem, because he said they're going into abandoned buildings. So this problem was never fixed in Chicago. The Black infrastructure in Chicago was never fixed. So you have a whole new people flooding in. They're going to go into these little niches. right? Why? Because it's already a broken system, right? So all the things that has not been done so from past elected officials or whatever are to blame, as well as the ones right now. But to solely point to, well, it's just the Democrats and, oh, it's an open border and all this bullshit, shows that you're just really politically ignorant, or or just being a Republican shield. But this is something of a concern, and Black people do need to make noise about that. And because Black people in that area has been looked over, specifically in Chicago. So that's pretty much it.
I appreciate that, Kofi. Should we start with number 3? The fatherless confuse the nation they are supposed to protect and provide. Quote, is Zaddy going to hear our cries? With that said, let's hear from Black Steel on this. Black Steel would say,
oh man, it's been a rough night, man. It's been a rough night. Some of these prompts have been torturous, man. From Charleston White to this dude right here. Oh my gosh, I feel like I must have did something.
Hey, Black Steel, fight through it. Fight through it, Black Steel. Fight through it.
Oh man, I'm sorry, Coco. Whoever I did, I'm sorry. So, couple things with this. First of all, to Kofi's point, this is black MAGA, or a blogger, as Bakari would say. But I mean, first of all, who's to say that money was ever going to be sent to you anyway, Black people? I think that these reactionary Black people, sometimes they miss they can't see the forest for the trees, right? There was no, they haven't been. It wasn't as though white people had been giving Black people all this money, and then they stopped giving it to them, and then gave them to the immigrants. No. They wasn't giving them this money in the first place. There was no money for schools. There was no money for after-school programs or food. That money was never going to be for you, Black people. Sorry, hate to be the bearer of bad news. Y'all wasn't gonna get shit because they don't want to, and you can't make them. So this is the overall power, and I think that it's unfair that they turn one marginalized group of people against another marginalized group of people, and then the white people, the people who are in charge, are the ones laughing behind the scenes. So here we are getting upset because we're fighting over crumbs from the table, and a few immigrants from Latin America got a few more crumbs than we did. And this whole thing about the the Venezuelan gang. Remember that story about the Venezuelan gangs taking over the apartment complex in Colorado? It turned out to be a hoax. That didn't happen. And yeah, that was a hoax. That was not true. And then here's the thing. Here is my overall issue, right? The Republicans have no policy. They have no plan, right? There's nothing. Remember, they asked Trump what was he going to do to replace Medicare. They said he has the concept of a plan.
He said he has a concept of a plan out of his own mouth. He said
Trump said have a concept of a plan. It's like when I saw the one movie, the Marvel movie. I'm making an educated wish. Hey, what are we talking about right now? You're making an educated wish. I have the concept of a plan. I don't have a plan, but I have the concept of a plan. The Republicans have no policy to deal with any issues Americans have. The only thing they have is scapegoating. And it's right now, last week it was the Haitians, right? That are eating dogs and cats. That wasn't true. Now it's the Venezuelans. Then I'm pretty sure Black people, it's going to turn around. It's going to be us again. These people have nothing to offer their constituents but the simple fact that they hate the same people that they hate. You hate immigrants? Hell, we hate immigrants too. You hate Black people? We hate Black people too. You hate gay people? We hate gay people too. You hate liberals? We hate liberals too. It's just they have nothing. They're morally and politically bankrupt. But they'll come up here with these stories, and of course they have Black people to participate, because what part of white fuckery is there that Black people don't participate in? There's always some Black person hanging out with some white people doing some crazy shit. You got Black Mormons out there. Sometimes you gotta let white people have some shit, okay? Black people want to be a part of everything. It's okay to let white people have some shit to themselves. I'm totally okay with that. So let them white people be patriotic assholes. Let them be MAGA. We don't need a blogger to go with that. So this whole idea that these immigrants are just coming in, oh, they're taking our jobs, they're stealing, they're bringing in crime. This is literally word for word from the Republican Party national platform, because they don't have anything else. And the fact that you got Black people going along with it, participating in this farce, there's plenty of stuff that you could criticize the Democrats on. I'm not a Democrat. I don't support the Democratic Party. But this ain't it. This is not it. This is really sad. I mean, I guess it's to be expected, right? But at the same time, it's still ridiculous overall what they're trying to do. And ex-cons for Trump. I mean, the fact that Trump is a convicted felon, I don't know. Maybe that's why they identify with him. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they just found some gang members in the community. And what I think is the problem is that I think that a lot of people feel neglected by the Democratic Party. And there's issues with the Democratic Party. But I think what happens is that because of our dissatisfaction with the Democratic Party, they turn around and they go into the hands of MAGA instead of, going into a more systemic, instead of going further to the left, they go further to the right. It's mind-blowing to me. And again, there's plenty of things we can critique the Democrats on. Plenty. But, just because you don't like their policies don't mean, it's like when Black people go from, they complain about Christianity being a colonizer religion, Christianity being the white man's religion, and they turn around and they join Islam. What are you doing, right? You go from one colonizer religion to the other colonizer religion. What are we talking about? All right, I'll leave it there. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Black Seal. I know this is no punishment. This is no punishment at all. These were topics that kind of lined up, and I lined them up and hope that we could connect them. Similar to what Afro Native World in the chat is doing right now. He's saying he's tying it all together. Charleston White is an ex-con for Trump. By the way, I want to say something too, just to be clear. I am not MAGA. I'm not pro-Trump. I'm pro-Black, man. I'm pro-African. So I'm definitely not going to be pro-Trump. But sometimes these conversations come up on here that make it seem like we're against Kamala and this, that, and the other, and that's just not the case. So with that said, let me mix it up a little bit. Let me hear from Buana next on this. Buana, what's it?
Koku, with American politics, I take the lead from my American brothers. And based off of what they say, I could really garner what side of the aisle they kind of like fall on. And I could sense that, gentlemen, a real Black gentleman could correct me, but he's on the other side of the aisle towards the more Republican end. And all of us know who the liberals are. All of us know who the liberals are. But I try to put my shoes in both feet, starting from a distance. And when real Black gentleman says that immigrants, why is it that these people are able to garner so much benefit? They have just gotten here. Why are they able to get so many concessions made for immigrants coming up to our shores? And I try to put myself in his shoes. Well, suppose 20,000 people showed up on the shores of the Bahamas, which they usually do. And I know how Bahamians take that. So, and then the government kowtows and allows them many different kind of concessions the regular Bahamian isn't able to get away with. That's a legitimate argument. That's a legitimate argument. So even if he is on the Republican side of the game, where they are stoking up the flames of anti-immigration, I understand where he is coming from. At least I absolutely do. That is a very difficult thing to ignore. And even if you are a person who are a Democrat or a liberal-minded person, you wouldn't just want random people to show up at in your neighborhood without no one speaking to you, without no one having a conversation with you. And also, they're able to garner certain benefits that you are not allotted. That's a legitimate argument. On the other side of that, I understand Kofi and I understand Black Steel. When Kofi say, well, you can't say with a serious face that the immigrants are creating gangs and crime and prostitution within our area in Chicago, in our impoverished area in Chicago, when all of us know Chicago is a gangster city. I mean, if you from Al Capone to when the blacks came from the south and established themselves in the north, and then created a lot of gangster disciples, infamous gang. You know, El Rukin, I forget, what's it? Ford, Larry Hoover. You know, these are popular people within Chicago, and they were engaged in major gang activity, criminal activity in the area. So you can't say with a straight face that what these guys are introducing a feature into our community that we're not used to. In fact, when the conservatives talk about crime and criminality and gang warfare, they refer to your area. This is without even talking about gangs. These new people coming into your territory. So you can't say they bringing in something that was already there. Come on, bro. Come on. No one is going to take that conversation seriously. No one is going to take that conversation seriously. Also, there's an underlying conversation that people don't want to discuss, I think. There is a drug economy that is on the eastern seaboard of the Americas, in particular in New York City and in Chicago. Where are they getting their drugs from? South America. They're getting Colombia's finest from South America. And this is bringing in all these kinds of having deleterious effects when the eastern seaboard of America. But Americans love drugs. So what are you going to do? That is a problem that was created way before the immigrants came. So the immigrants are going to exacerbate the problem. Absolutely exacerbate the problem. But don't say that don't present an image like our communities was crime and drug-free and harmless before the immigrants came to our area. That's just not a factual statement. It's not a factual statement. You know, come on and defend the argument if it's bullshit now. But I would say this. I try to be able to see things from both sides of the conversation, even though it may be unpopular for both sides. But I try to get some understanding. You know, from where I stand, and I understand the Republicans' perspective, the brothers who are Republican minded, and I understand the brothers who are liberal minded. I understand the position from both sides. So I would just leave it there.
By the way, shout out to the matron. The matron was in the chat tonight too, and I completely forgot to put up her messages earlier when she was saying the government wasn't going to give money to Black folks in the last topic. My apologies for that. Shout out to the matron. Make sure you guys are tuned into the matron. Subscribe to her channel as she does her weekly readings. Should read number 3 says the fatherless confuse the nation they're supposed to protect and provide. Anthony McPhail, what say you to what you've heard so far and seen?
Yeah, yeah, man. That was yeah, man. This has been a hell of a night, man. We heard a lot of Negro foolishness tonight, but I look at it like, well, first thing I like what the brother said about what Matron said about about the reparations. Like, man, look here. Y'all can hang that bullshit up. You ain't never getting no reparations unless you come in with bullets and gun smoke. That's the bottom line on that. That's the only way these white folks giving you anything. Okay, that being said, I think about it's kind of remind me of something, man. Just bear with me just a minute. I know we pressed for time. I remember I was 14 years old. I was going to J.S. Clark Junior High School. And it was a guy named Michael Brown. They called him Pink Panther. That was his nickname, Pink Panther. And you know, he was I was in the 7th grade, he was like in the 9th grade. And he was kind of like a little bully. And he used to have me so scared, man. Like, I mean, if I seen him somewhere, I'd walk the other way. You know, I wasn't a big dude like I am now. But I know one day it was another guy, his name Jeffrey Smith, we called him Bodine. Okay, now Jeffrey was from one of the most notorious housing projects in Shreveport. He was a 9th grader. One day we were standing at the locker. Jeffrey came up and him and Pink Panther had words, and Jeffrey punched Pink Panther in the head and Pink Panther started crying. You know what I'm saying? I mean, gangsters he was, and I was scared of this dude. He started crying when this other gangster bust him in the head. Now I'm saying you got some of these gangsters, these young brothers in Chicago, these gangsters, you know, who've been terrorizing the black community for I don't know how long. You know what I'm saying? I got an uncle who was associated with him, man. He lived in Chicago, and he was associated with a female, you know, he was associated with, I think it was the Vice Lords. You know what I'm saying? You've been running around here terrorizing your own community for I don't know how long, selling drugs and involved in all kind of stuff for so long. Now here come these other people you saying from Venezuela, whoever, whatever gang this is, and now you up here crying about the government doing this for them and they doing this and they taking over this and all, you know, all this old bullshit. I'm like, y'all need to get your mind right, man. You know what I'm saying? Y'all really need to get your mind. This is some crap. This sounds like some crybaby shit to me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you could be gangster. We could be gangster with us. But then we want to cry with somebody when a bigger gangster come up or a bigger bully come up, you know, and step to us and punch us upside the head by the locker. You know, they need to go on with that bullshit, man. And like I'm saying, it's just, you know, I agree with the other brothers, man. It sounds like some old FBA co-sign with Republican talking point shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like I said, man, it's been a tough night of Negro foolishness, man. I'll leave it at that, man.
Yeah, thank you for that, Anthony. Again, it's, you know, you could say it's been a tough night. There were other topics to do tonight too. We just ran out of time because there was so much good commentary on each prompt so far tonight. Last but not least, though, let's hear from Jose. The fatherless confuse the nation they're supposed to protect and provide. Quote, is Zaddy going to hear our cries? What say you to all of it?
Yeah, the title did what it had to do, a little controversy. I mean, if we want to get to the meat, we got to sharpen each other, right? If we want to cut into the meat. But yeah, I'm satisfied with the reactions. I'm sorry if anybody feels offended, but look at this, right? So in the past 2 decades, I've been in the streets, quote unquote, voluntarily making a point, trying to make a point, and one of the thoughts that I had, you know, I'm looking at this shit show that we have ahead of us. You know, these Western Caucasians, they made a mess of it again, and how they got rich. That's how they going to defend it, and that's with war, etc., etc. So we got some serious shit ahead, and these are the men. You were looking at the men because it's here too. So I was close to these type of men, and you talk about preparedness, and they actually believe that they are already prepared because if you have your cans in your basement, they have the gun to come and get them, right? So I mean, as others said, you know, they are tough with us, and now they suddenly become citizens, right? They suddenly become dependent of the government. I'm having deputy shame looking at this, right? And I put there the fatherless confuse the nation. Yeah. I mean, our children are looking at this. You know, is this our pride? You know, is this the image of ourselves that we you know, is anybody proud of what he is looking at? I guess no, right? So what is our nation here in Europe and in the West? In the West, there was one agenda: immigrant, and guess what? Everybody uses our face. So they complain about Muslims and fake asylum seekers, right? So they already have their with the naming of their so-called problem. They aim. So here in Europe, it's fake asylum seekers, right? In Poland, mobs are already roaming the streets looking for fake asylum seekers, right? And fake asylum seekers can be anyone: Southeast Asians, South Asians, Middle East. But the face that they use is always us, right? With you in the United States, the face that they use is Haitian. What is Haitian? Us, right? So we have shit ahead, and everybody has us as the scarecrow in their mind. What do you think is going to happen when the shit hits the fan? We are going to be the target first by anyone. In here, it's going to be, in my estimation, it's going to be Eastern Europeans and North Africans. You know, North Africans, they have been targeted. You know, but their hate for black people, it's white supremacy is not about who's on top, but who's at the bottom, right? So if you kick North Africans out of frustration, they will look for someone to kick, and everybody has us, black folks, Africans, as the punching bag. So these men that you are looking at, these are the men that we are going to have to face those type of affronts. So yeah, I chose the a title that either is a cold shower or whatever to have us think like how do we actually think, right? So here in the Netherlands, the blacks in the Netherlands, and what is our struggle to get accepted in the Netherlands. Then you have blacks in Belgium, same story. Germany, same story. Great Britain, same story. Ireland, or you know, France, Luxembourg, you know, and United States. I don't know how it is between Canada and the United States, but I guess it's the same. I guess blacks in Canada are trying to be Canadian. Blacks in or accepted or in the safety of, however that you call it, but is as Pan Africans, is the Pan African nation, does it come before your passport, or is it a hobby? You know, a question, just an open question for us to think about. Thanks.
I appreciate that, Jose. Does anyone have any last thoughts on this prompt? Any follow-ups to anything anyone else had to say? All right, I know it's been like you said, it's been a tough night. In terms of Negro foolishness, as our brother Anthony put it. Kofi in the chat says, Anthony made a great point. Gangster tears are now relevant because the government put ops in your hood. Interesting. Yeah, interesting. I peeped that in that video too. The gangs were really complaining because of competition from these other gangs. That's very interesting. But that's our show for this week. Before you guys leave the panel, let's get your weekly shout out, something positive, something good in your life, or something you saw around the neighborhood in the black world. Let's get some shout outs there. And by the way, thanks to Ditzel, who was here tonight too. I I hope he didn't feel any kind of ways, but you know, Shoot the Breeze has a lot of panelists, and we have a handful of topics we'd like to discuss. So we do need to be a bit succinct in our responses. But shout out to him for coming through. I hope he will continue to come through. I hope we will welcome him in the future, because he brings that, you know, that Latin aspect of the diaspora, you know, for us too. So hopefully he'll be back again. But with that said, let's do our positive shout outs for the week. Kofi, what would you like to shout out this week?
I really have nothing really going on. Just, you know, Black Power, love, reach one, teach one, and just be a better person and be example of that, and just keep it moving. That's all.
Appreciate that. Make sure you guys are subscribed to Kofi the Black Critic. Yeah, he always has a good weekly live these days, so check him out. With that said, Jose, what would you like to shout out this week?
Shout out to everybody that has something going, and may you succeed. And yeah. I say that because in these panels we talk, right? And do we walk, or do we wake up tomorrow in the morning and have nothing else going but our job to pay the bills, you know? Or what you know, every one of us is a brick in a wall around our nation. And may everybody be a strong brick in our wall. Shout out to everybody that's a brick in our wall. That's what that's who I'm shouting out to.
No, that's a whole bar right there. I like that. Everyone is a brick in our wall. I like that. With that said, Anthony, would you like to shout out this week?
Yeah, man. I like to just shout out, you know, Black people all over the world, man. All of us Black people who are putting forth effort, you know, to for our people's survival, man, our people's progress, man. You know, our people, you know, restoring, you know, our dignity and getting back where we belong, man. And shout out to all the brothers on the panel, man. You know, shout out to the brother from Costa Rica too, man. You know, come back, man. We, you know, your conversation is valuable, man. And yours too, Koku. Peace and blessing to everybody, man.
Yeah, shout out to you, Anthony, for the Amiri Baraka video I posted on the community tab. I saw Buana posted his thoughts on it. I think Arthur's there as well. I'll be posting mine soon too. Make sure you guys check out that video and post your thoughts. That could be something that we could converse about in the future. With that said, Black Steel, what would you like to shout out this week?
So I want to shout out my neighbors in my area. So as you know, we had a bad storm come through here. I met a dude just not too long before the show started. Said he had lost everything. The river near me had flooded. The storm made its way through Georgia. A lot of the towns. So there's one town I used to visit when I was a kid going on vacation in North Carolina. It's completely gone now because of the storm. These storms are getting more powerful. They're lasting longer. They're causing a lot more damage. This is our reality. I know real black gentlemen is here. Mr. Climate Change isn't real, but it's real. So shout out to everybody who survived this storm, who lost loved ones because of this storm. Just stay try to prepare yourself, because all we got is each other. All we have is our community. We can't depend on anybody except ourselves. And I think we have to realize that we are all we have. Black people, we are all we got. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Appreciate you there, Black Steel. I guess my mic was muted. Appreciate you there for that shout out, Black Steel. In the chat, Afro Never was asking me about the video that Anthony provided for us to check out. It's on my community tab. That's what it looks like right there. It's about 2 or 3 posts down. Check it out. Really good video, worthy of some discussion in the comment section. So just, go ahead and check it out. Last but not least, for shout outs this week, Buana, what say you?
Yes. So let me shout out South Florida, and Black Steel them. We just missed that hurricane, bro. And I want y'all brothers in South Florida to stand strong. We know y'all going through it right now, and we know what it is. So, Black Steel, I hope your family is safe. I hope that everyone in your community is safe despite the situation. But I understand how hurricanes could go, so shout out to you all. Let me also say, I appreciate and I am happy sometimes when I can get Black Steel and Anthony frustrated. I like when they get them angry. I like when they get them angry because they are very.
Laugh at my pain, bro. Laugh at my pain. Okay.
Yeah. No. I'm talking about the discussion. I'm talking about the discussion, not the hurricane. The discussion, because
I know. I figured. I knew.
Yeah. Usually they are very measured in their approach. So I know that my politics sometimes don't jive with theirs. So I like when I get them a little bit upset. A little bit upset because I know whatever they come back with, they can come back with a well thought out argument to an alternative to what I'm saying. And this is what it is all about. It's about intellectual discourse. It's about intellectually sharpening our steel. And also it's about taking the conversations we have somewhere further within our own personal communities and having our community think for themselves as well. We are trying to build a community of thinking people, and if we as people who are thoughtful could get together and think, we gonna also pass that out within our communities, within our families, and have them being thoughtful people as well. This is how we problem solve. And this is how we make the Black world better. So I think that I glad when I challenge the intellectuals in the room, and I glad when I piss them off sometimes as well, because I know that that it's going to create some steam where it's going to further the discussion elsewhere. So I am, if I could be architect of that, I'm going to try to play a puppet master. But I appreciate the conversation, Koku, as always, and I am trying to work on getting my Francophone African people in the conversation as well. I invited them to the conversation, and I don't know if they was here or not, but I'm trying to get them to come on as well, because we are inviting the whole African world into our room and our space to see if we can problem solve our situation and take it to somewhere else. This is what we about, but I'll leave it there, Koku.
I appreciate all of you. That's my shout out this week. Shout out to all the other shows on KWAZ Radio. Shout out to Oni, who's on the continent right now, getting prepared to get married. So shout out to that brother. Make sure to subscribe to his channel. You'll see all his updates from over there as well. Well, we should be back next week. I don't see no reason why. In the meantime, you guys be good. I'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.